news is bad news kind of feeling. But we haven't moved enough to be reacting that way just yet. I mean, what do we go? We went like 20, 30 cents down on the Qs here. Let's be real for a second. So the reaction early is going to be muted at the end of the day. Ultimately, I think headlines are going to drive us more. Earnings are going to drive us a heck of a lot more.
Since you've been swing trading, you have yet to fully utilize your cash. You've noticed you typically only see about 50 to 60% of your cash. Yeah, it is tough to get fully invested unless you're getting, a whole lot more aggressive. Which I normally just recommend that the market have to kind of force you in through great action instead of, you kind of forcing yourself in. So yeah, I it's not normal. In like a really good environment, you can definitely get above 60%. But that's the idea, right? Is that you're waiting for a good environment. Yeah, Ivan, nice job, dude. You'll have noticed a lot of the market gave that exact same setup right around the exact same time. I personally feel like I missed Cypher on the 620 setup, but that's good on you for at least paying attention to what the setup is. So this right here was really nice. I bought A-Lab because it actually triggered well before the market, and so far so good. So far so good. You grabbed a little bit of lemonade in pre-market. Yeah, you're still kind of, there's just not enough volume there for me to do anything like that. But, lemonade is basically trading out to highs. Very, very nice. No, and you're not, you're not going to catch them all. You're not going to catch them all. So don't be too mad about that, dude. I added to my Baba yesterday. Very, very nice gap up. Now trading out to highs. Beautiful, beautiful falling wedge. Fantastic action. Hopefully, this thing's out to 200 plus here pretty soon. We've had these pretty big moves, 60%, roughly 55%. I mean, if we can just get a cool 50%, I mean, I don't even know where that would put us. That would put us quite a bit up there, even 40%, 220. Not sure if it was wise to get 7-8 stocks with 2-3% each, or just 2 stocks with, look, tomato. I actually, in moments like that, believe it or not, I almost think it's better to cast a wider net. And I actually think what you did was better, right? You get a bunch of little 3% positions, and then if it works, like, you're going to be able to cut the ones that aren't working, add to the ones that are, and that I think is a whole lot better. So, you're kind of casting a wider net. You're not just like pigeonholing yourself, because what if like you were looking at 6 or 7 or 8 stocks, and then the 2 that you buy do nothing, but the other 4 or 5 do awesome, and then 1 or 2 of them, are kind of flat. So I would rather just like cast a wider net. You're basically risking about the same amount amongst those names, and then just add to the ones that are working after the fact. Yeah, wouldn't it be nice if A-Lab just stops chopping here? But, yesterday I thought was really good for the market. Really nice job moving back up, and hopefully the day before that and yesterday was just a bit of a shakeout. So you get a bit of a shakeout, and then hopefully we can start to reclaim here and then get over 630 on the Qs and start pushing out towards highs. I think a name like A-Lab in that scenario with like an AMD could do pretty well. Yeah, I mean, it could be in the other direction, but I've got a nice average on A-Lab right now, so I'm not really too concerned about a kind of move like that, to be honest with you. So we don't have earnings until middle of February, basically, so we should be all right. USAR, for me, not so much, even though super volatility, fine, but not really a name for me. COHR, much better, much, much better. Gapping up in pre-market. Yeah, not bad. NXT is fine as well. I think tan looks great. Yep, NXT gapping up in pre. Oh man, you think that patience was good? I've been in Netflix short since November. What is this? November 19th. 2 months just sitting on the short side. Wish I would have hit a few more software stocks, but do I apply progressive exposure in the way that Livermore describes it? Please elaborate a bit on position sizing. It seems like a lot. Yeah, well, USIC guys, they're aiming to, have triple digit returns every single year. I'm kind of not at the point where I need to do that to make a ton of money. And I could, with a whole lot less stress, make 40, 50, 60% returns with very, very minimal stress and very little risk to the portfolio. I think USIC guys, right, the draw to be right at the top in terms of performance, which, I got to give them, I have tons of respect for those guys. But you're kind of putting and this isn't always true for all of them, but you're sometimes pushing a little harder than you should. I don't like putting on, big position sizes. I mean, I do, but not necessarily relative to my portfolio. At once, I like to add to my positions, and that is probably a big key difference, right? I have no problem getting 10, 15, 20, 25% of my portfolio in one position if I had, big confidence in the stock and it gave me multiple setups, even on an intraday, to be able to add, right? If I were looking for the long side, maybe I'm buying a pullback into a prior day high. Maybe I'm buying a reclaim of VWAP. Maybe I'm buying a 5-minute opening range break. Maybe I'm buying a break of the range. Like all of a sudden, I could have a 15, 20% position on this stock in a single day if I wanted. But I typically use progressive exposure. Like, let's just say we're coming out of a market correction. I'll take a 10% position, and then I'll take another one if my prior position is working and there's more setups, and then I'll take another one and another one, etc., on the traction that I have. If I can't gain traction, then I don't go looking for more exposure. So, do I think Sandisk is setting up for a pullback? Short, or a parabolic short. I was kind of hoping for a move to like 550, and then I would tell you yes. I don't know that I'll short that one today. I do like how vertical it's gone to potentially play it as a short, but I'm kind of focused in on the metal sector. So one of the things that I kind of noticed yesterday, and I'm sure some of you guys did as well, was the QQQ started to rip and the metal started to come down. So, my thinking is if the Qs start to bounce here, then money should kind of come out of the metals, but we'll find out if that's going to be true or not. Why not buy on a 15-minute opening range break? I do 5-minute. Tomato. But yeah, on stocks, fast moving stocks like 10% average daily range, you need to get at least, I normally don't trade too many stocks with a 10% average daily range. Even though A-Lab is pretty close, I do want to have a couple percentage points of overnight cushion and make sure that the market closed well. Why not buy AMD on a 15-minute opening range break? No, this is just I always kind of try to take things down to still the daily chart, and I could have bought it yesterday, little bit of hindsight, of course. I really should have bought it on this oops reversal, which, this little drop in reversal. And I noticed it in real time and I just didn't do much about it. Like I noticed the gap down and I noticed this thing pushing right away. And I probably should have, but hindsight's 2020. SEI, yeah, I tried buying it a few weeks ago and unfortunately I got stopped out. I tried buying it on the 9th. And of course I took a bit of a loss here the next day. So it's the same thing. Like I tried a long in SEI, I take a bit of a loss. I tried a short in AppLovin, I took a little bit of a loss. I would have been right in both. Man, it just sucks being right, but being early. That's just kind of sounds a little bit like my trading at the moment. I think Jazz looks nice. APLD still interesting. Tons of volatility there. So, I'm a little bit more trying to slow myself down on like Cypher and Iron and APLD, but I am noticing the strength in those like young data center stocks, HUT being another, NBIS, CoreWeave, Galaxy, etc. Do I have any thematics for Storm DMG control? I don't know what that is, or recovery from Storm stocks. Oh man, there used to be some back in the day. I don't know. I'd have to kind of look them up, but you've got like hey Mr. Man, what are you doing over there? But there used to be like OPTT. I don't know any of them off the top of my head. I'd kind of have to scan for them. You've talked about AOI in the past. It looks like, yeah, I like AOI. In fact, this was almost one of them that I bought yesterday on this little morning. Oh, and you're gapping up too this morning. Son of a biscuit. Yeah, this was almost one of them that I should have bought yesterday. 36 and a half. Oh, well. What are the top metal stocks to focus on? I thought one of the ones with the cleanest setup, I had STLD on my watch list from yesterday, the day prior. So like you could have bought this as a breakout. Why do I like A-Lab? The earnings and sales are phenomenal. Yes, I understand it's been showing weakness, but so has AMD up until the last 5 days. And then all of a sudden these things wake up and then start flying and then don't turn back around. When a stock has awesome earnings and sales, I make sure I pay attention to it. And, if you kind of look at an A-Lab, although this period is a little bit choppier and even a longer of a base, very similar mentality, right? Where you first have a really big move up from 30s all the way to 140. I mean, you almost can't ignore something like that. But what does the stock do? It falls, right? It falls 60%. And then the stock comes right back up the right-hand side, digests for a little while, and then eventually breaks out. Yes, this digestion was a whole hell of a lot better, right? It was a hell of a lot better. But then it breaks out, makes a 180% move and then falls once again, right? 50%. Then all of a sudden it just starts to digest once again. And my thinking is eventually we break out and then we're looking a whole hell of a lot higher is my thinking. So that's why I'm paying attention to it. Semiconductors still act really well. ASML, KLAC, LRCX, Intel, AMD, you name it, AMAT, if I didn't mention it. So, yeah, I got to make sure that I'm paying attention to the stocks with fantastic earnings and sales. A-Lab fits the bill. I know it's super choppy, so buying pullbacks into ascending moving averages. Sedge, no. I would prefer, Sedge is not going to be one that I trade within the solar sector. Yeah, there's nothing there for me, even though it can very well keep going. I'd rather just own TAN. So you have Sedge, you have Array, and this isn't all that bad. You have NXT as your leader, and NXT, I used to be paying attention to this thing down here. You have NXT, you have FSLR, you have CSIQ. Yeah, and even this. What setups do I trade? So let's start at the top. You have an earnings gap up. You have a high volume close. You have a high type flag. You have a flat base breakout. You have a low cheat setup. You have an undercut and rally. And Is that about it? That might be it. If I think of another one, I'll let you know. Yeah, yeah, dude, Serenity. I kind of chuckle, but I'm not gonna give that dude. I can all I can do is troll. It's sad because a lot of people believe that. There's some dude on X who said he turned 1,000 into 3 million in 5 days, and it's just anybody who believes that's just a total moron themselves. But doesn't matter. Can I summarize how I sell into strength? Yeah. So I'm looking for compression. And then when you get expansion, I like to trim into that expansion. And then I like to just trail on my ascending moving averages. So expansion for me, usually 3 to 5 days, right? Like nail an entry, 3 to 5 days of expansion. Cool, great. And then some people just like to kind of turn over their edge completely. But for me, I like to, let's just say, stay in half of my position or 2/3 of my position. And then at that point, it's just a matter of trailing on an ascending moving average, which is exactly what I do, the 10 and the 20 day. And then if something begins to work for a while, the 50 day. And then as you get extended from the 50 simple moving average, so 7 times its average terrain from the 50, I like to sell some more. And then every ATR over 7, I like to trim some more. If the stock then just decides that it's going to up and consolidate, then I don't trim anymore. I just kind of let it, build a brand new base, and then I'm happy to buy some more if I get another clean setup. You were getting chopped up on A-Lab and Iron yesterday. Luckily, that happens even if you get back to horrible feeling paper cutting when buying something. Yeah, I mean, it kind of sucks. I took A-Lab off for some gains, and I did a really, really nice job kind of getting lucky. But trimming some off the prior day at like $183 right in here, or 180. I'd have to look at my prints, but I want to say somewhere in here I was trimming some off, so maybe even 184. And then I didn't have to sit in all of this with my full position. So I actually did a fairly nice job, getting long, adding some more, trimming some off, getting stopped out, adding it back. It's a bit of micromanaging, but the last thing I really want to do is watch a nice green trade, go red. So market is close to being untradeable for you. Yeah, Scotland. It's this chop sucks. I mean, we could use like a serious 15% correction here pretty soon, and that wouldn't even really be that serious, but like we could use a nice long washout, not something that like a tariff panic, right? Like nothing that just lasts a month, something that just grinds people out for like 3 months lower, and we end up 15, 18, 20% lower. That would be like the best case scenario. It's like you can't even get positioned as a swing trader. It's like I'm over here buying Cypher, and then all of a sudden you're dealing with this candle. So it's like I had a nice trade going. I bought some on Friday, I added some on Tuesday, and then all of a sudden I'm taking my Tuesday's ads off, as we're kind of failing for like a 30-cent gain. Had I not done that, I'd have taken a loss overall on the Cypher, and I take the rest of it off, for like a 20-cent loss. So it's like I end up losing money. Effectively a flat trade, but just like tons of these wide range bars, just kind of killing price action, and momentum's not really sticking unless you're trading like a handful of stocks, and trading SanDisk and Micron. Those are far gone. If you didn't catch some of the metals long ago, which, even myself and NEM, I've been slowly just trimming out of my NEM. So there's not really a ton for me to do out here in terms of clean setups. So I kind of feel the exact same way. It's not untradeable, but I also didn't do a good enough job shorting software stocks. So, just kind of sitting in some of these slower movers has been like my best bet, whether it's NEM, Netflix, or ExxonMobil, and still being comfortable playing the short side, but it's been a real pain in the ass. So it's been a real pain in the ass. Thoughts on Tesla? I liked the news yesterday. I want to try to find my way back into that name if we can reclaim the 50-day. Obviously, I did think probably like everybody else that the news was good. You know, full self-driving works well enough that you get cheaper insurance. I mean, that's pretty good news. So Hims is in a downtrend. I'm not even going to focus on that one. What about Moderna? Moderna's way too extended. I'm not going to focus on that one either. But if it wants to set up in the future, great. But this is vertical. So I don't really trade vertical stocks. Now we need some sideways digestion. Do you use limit order or market order on smaller cap stocks? Well, 10 billion isn't that small of a market cap. It really depends, obviously, the daily dollar volume that it's trading with. The stock can have a $10 billion market cap, but not be trading enough dollar volume. If you're trading plenty of dollar volume, I can just market order something. IMSR, yeah, there's nothing to do here. There's a reason this stock went from 32 back to 6. What about APLD? APLD in the same group as Cypher and Iron. You know, I'm still paying attention to it, but way too much volatility here to feel comfortable. AOI looks interesting, gapping up overnight. I definitely have my eye on it. I think it looks pretty dang good. $38.38. It's up $1.50 in after hours. Yeah. NBIS coiling. Yeah, NBIS, and you're getting a bunch of gap ups, you know, at the moment. So, like, you know, do people sell into these gap ups? I don't know. Yeah, I saw that. FTAI almost 300 in after hours. No, Oklo still, until they tell you that they've closed the offering, they're raising like $1.5 billion. So they're just selling paper on the people who are impatient here. Palantir bouncing. I mean, it's below the 50 simple moving average. There's no reason to even be looking at Palantir right now. It's below a falling 50-day. It's like there's absolutely no reason to try and catch this. Just wait for it to get back above the 50. I'll be keeping my eye on Cypher. I don't know that I have to try and buy it again today. You know, I've got other focuses, at least for myself. Plus, I did get kind of lucky, you know, not lucky, but adding to my BABA yesterday. And, you know, we're catching a pretty nice gap up. So when I get kind of lucky like this, I just let some of my positions work before needing to force myself in. Like, I've got plenty of names working at the moment. I bought A-Lab yesterday back on the dip. This is working. I've got some BABA. This is working pretty well. I still have NEM, and I kind of have to manage it with what gold and silver is doing. I'm trying to actively short silver at the moment. You know, Netflix is working, so just kind of managing that. SILJ is one that I have on a short, and I actually nailed this thing at like 36 and change yesterday, so that's pretty good. SLV I also have a short on at the moment, and ExxonMobil I have a long on at the moment. So just kind of managing what I own before really just thinking about continuing to pile into things. STLD was just a little, so there was 2 spots that I mentioned in the prior night's watch list videos. So over this little 2-day pullback, right over prior day high, and then over Thursday's high. So 175.63. So you could have literally bought this here. So effectively, what does that look like to you? Basically a 5-minute opening range break, right? And then you had about a 1.3% risk to low of day. And this was your close. So a very nice setup, in my opinion. It's been strong. I also thought the other spot to buy this was in here. And then fairly similar for the other steel name, ATI, right in here. And these names have just been very, very steady. Thoughts on WWD? Woodward. This is kind of just channeling higher. There's no setup here. At least not one that I trade. This is just channeling higher, and it looks like we are probably, yeah, we're 5 times its ATR from the 50, so just a smidge extended. Even on AMD had a nice trade, but everything else is just getting hit. So play defense. Yeah, I mean, I honestly can't blame you. AMD was one of those that last Wednesday was showing an incredible amount of relative strength. And, this, if you owned it from like this drop and reversal, which again, buying it that last Monday, fine. Like, I don't know, what would have compelled somebody to buy something here, but if you kind of noticed the drop and reversal and then you got long, great. I think that would have been awesome. And then the volatility would have been easier to hold through. Um, I still think AMD looks awesome. We'll see if it can tighten up again, and then the market can kind of go back on easy mode. So maybe the shakeout 2 days ago is exactly what we needed, Scotland. That's my hope. I don't really like UNH just yet. It's just starting to poke its head above the 200 simple moving average. This is good. Obviously, this action the last 2 days will remind you a little bit of the XLV, right? 2 days of action, but it's got some more work to do. There are other stocks that I'd rather own in the healthcare space. CoreWeave needs a little bit of work, but I think looks fine if you bought it, I think it was like a week ago or something. So that's probably your problem. And I'm assuming you're probably in a time zone that, sucks a little bit for trading, but you got stopped out on A-Lab and went to sleep, and now to watch it bounce back and now everything gapping up. Yeah, that's why you can't go to sleep in the middle of your trading day. And we talked about a lot of these things triggering right as it was happening. You had A-Lab triggering a 620 setup, and this is where I bought mine. You had AAOI doing the exact same thing. You had Cypher, all of these names we were watching. You had EOSE, all of these were doing the exact same thing right around the same time. So if you're paying attention, you could have gotten yourself an EOSE around low 16s and had, 3% of risk. And then now look, right? I mean, this is the kind of ideal scenario. AAOI, you could have bought any of these things. So, one of my comments yesterday to one of the guys in the room is, yes, this environment might suck, but you can't just, kind of throw the, hat in, right? You got to just stick with it. And eventually you don't know when the market will turn. It could have very well been that yesterday the market turned, right? I don't know if that's true, but like even my A-Lab, all of a sudden now you're getting a $4 or $5 gap up. I mean, this is pretty awesome. So we'll see what sticks, but you kind of just got to stick with it. I have no idea. I have no idea about that person in the USIC, but you'll have to tell me who that is if you got his name. Baba, fantastic. Yeah, I love it. And I added to it yesterday. So, yeah, so far so good. Let's hope this thing's got like $220 in it. VRT, another nice one. And a nice daily setup too, and gapping up. Wow. Man, everything gapping up. And it's crazy because I have the worst time trying to buy these gap ups. Do I stay away from biotech? Yeah, I typically do stay away from biotech just because you got to know a lot of information about them. So you got to know if they have PDUFA dates. You got to know how much cash they have on hand. You got to know if they have any drug trials coming up. Like, you just got to know too much shit. And I've been in way too many instances, like earlier on in my career, where like I'm up 6 figures on a trade, and then I wake up down 6 figures on the trade, getting caught in an offering. So, you can only get caught in an offering so many times in your life on the same shit group, biotechs, that eventually you're just like, they got to be making money and they got to have accelerating earnings and sales. If they have that and they don't have any upcoming trials or anything that's like, pending and on my radar, then I'm okay trading them. But if I'm going to trade pharmaceuticals or biotechs, I make sure they're like well-established companies like Eli Lilly. My favorite, do I see any entry points to go long home builders? My favorite is going to be Toll Brothers at the moment. I think this one has the cleanest base of the bunch. KBH, let me look. Oh, KB Homes. Nah, KB Homes not as good. TBHC. Definitely not. Throw that one way in the trash, straight in the garbage. Hit it with the shredder. Let your dog take a shit on it. Throw it out for sure. Don't do anything with that TBHC, dude. Whatever the hell that is. What is this crap? Throw this shit out, dude. What is this? KB Homes, I understand. And even that one's not that great. What is that? This, much better. Toll Brothers, you want the best one? Toll Brothers. You want the one that's better than that? BLD. Right? BLD broke out already. Already broke out. So can I share how I add to a position? The way I add to a position is I imagine that I didn't own it. Pretend you didn't own it. And then all of a sudden, you will be adding to a position using one of your entry tactics, one of your daily setups. So that's how I add, unless I'm adding intraday, right? Then I'll have to have like a couple of intraday setups. Like if I'm buying a breakout, right, you might get a pullback in the morning and I'm buying, near a key moving average and a 620 setup. Then I might be buying a reclaim of VWAP, might be buying a 5-minute opening range break, might be adding for a break above prior day high. This is if I'm trying to get very aggressive same day to an add. Otherwise, if I'm just like looking for the stock to work on the daily, then I'm looking for a daily setup that I'm familiar with to add. Thoughts on Marvell, one of the laggards. Thoughts on Marvell is one of the laggards in the semi space. TSM on this pullback could be. This one's been one of the leaders within the semi space. In an ideal scenario, this would have come back a little bit further into the 20-day. How do you learn the intraday? I mean, the way you learn anything is you practice. Practice, and you sit there and you stare at your screens and you stare at charts and you look at the leading names and you look at where the move originated from after it got nice and tight, and you look at what could have been an entry tactic, and you just study that. You take it to the smaller time frame, and you learn. You learn. Thoughts on QUBT or Quantum? Seems like it wants to roll over. Yeah, that was my thought yesterday. Obviously, a lot of things bounce with the market. I think QUBT is a massive POS. So Kulamagi refers to buying breakouts only if prices above the 10 and 20 SMA of the overall market. Why don't we apply this to sector ETFs? I think he does. And I don't think that there's as many people who probably understand group and sector strength as much as Christian. So, he does talk about that. I just think everybody, when you listen to him in 2020 and 2021, the focus might have been on the SPY and the Qs, but he was trading, energy related names and lithium stocks. And, he understands group strength. SMCI. Yeah, no, thanks. No, thanks. Why did I short NVIDIA, the best stock in the market? Because it was below the 50 simple moving average. I don't really care what stock it is in the market, right? We could call a stock the best in the market, and yet they still roll over. You remember when Google was once the best stock in the market and then did absolutely nothing, through many, many years of its life and just kind of underperformed, right? The best stocks in the world all go through downtrends. And again, they start by breaking below their 50 simple moving average. CVS, not a fast mover. Thoughts on the setup? Actually, it's not that bad. I don't necessarily want to play CVS, so probably going to leave it alone. You grabbed VRT yesterday in a 620 entry. Yeah, that's perfect. And that's exactly why you don't necessarily want to give up. And this one was another one. Triggers right through here. You could have even bought it as it reclaimed VWAP, and now all of a sudden, you're up $10 a share. How do I handle news-driven volatility? I size down. I size down just a little bit. You tend to overtrade sometimes. You size down and you use progressive exposure. I feel like I say it all the time. It's how you keep yourself out of harm's way. You keep yourself out of harm's way. How do I trade gap ups? You can do a 5-minute opening range break, and if it's an earnings gap up, then you can do a high volume close if you just wait for it. SCI, nice VCP. Yeah, I'm not going to be trading it. I already traded it, took a loss. I'll leave it alone for now. I own XOM, so. They follow some traditional canceling, but I don't always just buy, maybe the traditional breakouts that are taught in canceling trading. But yeah, I do try to align myself in stocks that have good earnings, but you don't always need them. Guys, my best winner last year was Oklo. And they have no earnings at all. So while I do try to align myself with canceling, my best dollar winner last year, right, was Oklo. So what am I going to do about that? If you don't have a ton of time and you live in another time zone, which are the best hours to be focused on trading as a second? I would say if you can, right at the open, right, the first hour, and then the last hour of market close, because you could actually execute right at the close. SHLS or Sedge. So are you asking me how I'd prefer to kill myself? I'm kidding. A little dark. Neither, dude. Neither. Why not NXT? Like, why are we got to go for the charts that look just god awful? Like, why do I got to do this to myself? Why this one? Although this one actually doesn't look as bad, but not Sedge, dude. Not Sedge. Come on. This thing is just hot trash still. Like, it's just not linear. Even when it gets going, it's super choppy. Don't do it to yourself. There's better. NXT being your better. Nice job. That's okay. 3% portfolio position. Now you're working behind some traction. Just wait so you can add some more. Thoughts on FLNC? Not bad for a utility stock. Little bit choppy, but not bad. And of course, gapping up as well. Jeez. Thoughts on InnoData? Starting to what? Bottom base, I'm assuming? Yeah, I mean, still a lot of volatility here. Good, but not great. I mean, I see the little bull flag probably just like everybody else. I don't know. Good, but not great. 620 setups on the 5-minute chart is with EMAs. INCY. Yeah, this one was on my universe list. Not a bad looking chart. Not a bad looking chart. Needs a little bit more work here on the right-hand side. The one that I missed that was also on my radar from the weekend was AXSM. Hopefully somebody caught this AXSM. Very nice. What are the best setups to trade in the choppy market? You buy support and you sell resistance. So buy undercut and rally, sell into the left side peaks. Yeah, Bitcoin continues to act like crap. I mean, I don't know what it's going to take. KGC on this pullback? No, there's no setup on KGC, even with this pullback. Where's the setup on KGC? You're going to buy something this extended from the 50. You want to know when and where I was buying KGC? Here. And you want to know probably the even better spot to have gotten long KGC through that flat base in this consolidation. You want to buy KGC up here? No, come on. Do I like RR? It's starting to look pretty interesting for these robotic stocks. RR, you have SYM, and you have Serve. CRS looks good. CRS looks good. Love this little inside day. I don't think CRS is too slow. Love this little inside day. We'll see what happens if it can get going out of this little inside day. The real. I don't really see an explosive setup, man. I just see something that's just kind of grinding higher, right? I'm looking for compression. This isn't really compressing at all. It's just kind of channeling higher. I personally hate channeling charts. I'm looking for compression. You know what made Baidu so explosive? Look at the compression. It made a big move up, and then it started to tighten as you made your way to the right side of the chart. You know what made Baba so explosive? Right? You made your way up, and then you started to compress as you got kind of to your little apex here, right? And that's what makes these things explosive, right? You look at the real, and it's just kind of channeling higher, right? Like, how are you supposed to be explosive out of this? Not saying it can't be, not saying earnings won't show up and it won't give you another nice pop like this, but like, how the hell do I get involved in this thing when there's no compression? I need compression, and you just don't have it. Can you please comment on coin, MSTR, and AVGO? They all look like shit. Yep, simple. Yeah, I think, yeah, that one's pretty self-explanatory. MSTR, coin, and AVGO all look like shit. Yep, as Christian would say, tight is for winners, loose is for losers. Yeah, you want tight, you want compression. Without compression, you don't get expansion. It's like one of those things where, okay, so you guys know like a spring, right? Push a spring down with your fingers, and what happens when you let the spring go? It expands, right? That's exactly kind of what you're looking for. You get compression, and then, once the energy is released, you get expansion. Well, if the stock is just like steadily expanding, right? Like, how the hell do you buy it? You want to buy something that's coming out of compression. And even sideways can be considered compression, but it's just got to go sideways, like the COHR, for instance, right? You get this nice move up, and then all of a sudden you go sideways. This is like your spring, like like coiling back up. You get expansion, and then you get compression, and then all of a sudden you start to get some expansion again. So that's how that works. NXT, another nice example from a few months ago, right? You get expansion, right? You get expansion, and then all of a sudden you start to trade sideways. You get compression, and then you get expansion, and then all of a sudden you're compressed again, and then you're starting to get expansion, and you're compressing one more time, and then some more expansion. Like, that's just how it goes. And it's the same thing, but it looks different in all sorts of ways based on the prior move. The bigger the prior move, the longer the period of digestion it needs. AV had a really nice UNR of the HVC. Yes, it did. Right into the 200 simple moving average as well. VRT was nice. VRT was really nice. For anybody who bought it yesterday, congratulations. Nice job on the gap up too. Again, you get a period of expansion, and then you get some compression, and then you get expansion, and then you get compression. Do you video stream in your Discord? Oh yeah, no, I live stream while I'm at the desk. So yeah, I'm there. I mean, if the market's open, I'm usually available. How do you handle initiating positions before earnings? I just typically avoid names on earnings, for a few days prior to. So if you've got earnings coming up in like, 8 days or something like that, 6 days, I just kind of avoid it. If you're like further than a week out, maybe I can get a little bit of a cushion to get the momentum burst, trim it to strength, and then trail the rest. Otherwise, I just kind of leave it alone. Right? There's no real reason for me to be involved. I'm not really ignoring Intel. I just haven't really had the best spots to get involved on this thing. Right? It's not that I'm ignoring it. It's just I never really got, the spot I wanted. So, unless I bought this thing here back through the 50-day, that was it. Otherwise, if it'll tighten up for me, like I can't just buy this up here, guys. This would be against all rules to chase something up here. That's 7.5 times its ATR from the 50. Just can't do that. So this yesterday was trim day, not buy day. So anybody who's buying yesterday, I mean, God bless you, especially in front of earnings today too. So just not happening. Tesla's close to earnings. How close is the question? This stock normally is never affected by earnings. Wednesday the 28th next week. Yeah. So probably leaving it alone for a moment. What do I think of SIDU? Small cap pump in the right group. Yeah, small cap pump. I mean, really nice explosive move up 500%. And then you're just hopefully starting to find support at the rising 20 and it'll tighten up a little bit more before it goes. But not really a ton I can do. SATL looks like it's almost ready. Nice cup and handle for a SATL for a small cap. Oof, man. Boy, this thing got ugly. Yeah. I mean, volatility expanding, right? It's just, I don't know, dude. I would leave this shit alone personally. CLS, I don't hate it. I don't love it. I don't hate it. They also have earnings coming up in a few days on Wednesday, same day as Tesla, it looks like. You know what bugs me a little bit? This is where I bought CLS. Oh, boy. Woo. Kratos, there's no setup there. KTOS, no setup. I mean, cool, happy to see that it's going higher, but if this thing would have just taken out this neckline for me instead of gapping over, I would have bought this thing 82. Yeah, INCY is not so bad. INCY doesn't look so bad, and neither does a name, like this. I've got a few more. JAZZ looks pretty good. What is it? GRAL doesn't look too terrible. GMED doesn't look all that bad. What is it? GH doesn't look that bad. So you've got a handful of stocks. I don't think INCY is in healthcare though. So kind of let me look that up because I just showed you a bunch of healthcare stocks as if they're related. INCY is a biotech. Okay, yeah, fairly close. So healthcare related. Thoughts on AMPG? This kind of sucks. It's also super illiquid. You should just avoid stuff like this altogether. AMPG trades a whopping $2 million a day. Dude, I take some positions that are larger than that. You don't really want to be trading stocks that cheap, that thin. This, no, institutions can't buy it because it's just so cheap, right? So you're just not going to get institutional support in stocks like AMPG. TROX, I mean, fine. It's better. It's above the 200. That's great. But where's the setup now? Right? I mean, you can't possibly buy this thing after a 45% move, can you? Oh, Moderna, yeah, I've seen it, but there's nothing really I can do. Geo, I thought was a short way back here, right? You got your move down, then you got sideways compression, and then you eventually broke down and lost the 200 SMA. Yeah, there's nothing to do with Geo. Yeah, I saw NVAX as well. Nothing to do with it. AST, I mean, the sector's great. One of the leading sectors in the market, but there's nothing I can do with it. Right? ASTS, Rocket Lab, KRMN, KTOS, PL. The whole setup needs to reset up, guys. Stocks go up, and then they need to expansion, and then they need to compress. Okay? All we've gotten is up. So where's the sideways? Right? Stocks don't just go up. If you want to just randomly buy something on like a one-day pullback, that's fine, but Godspeed, because over the long term of your career, you're going to eventually hate yourself because that's not compression. Just buying a random one-day pullback on like ASTS or or, KTOS or KRMN, like 1-day pullbacks is not enough. If you own them from way lower, then you just let them work. BFLY. I think I've traded this name before. Yeah, Butterfly. Yeah, I have. Way lower too. Yeah, here you go. This is when I've traded this one. See what I'm talking about, guys? Where we talk about compression, expansion, compression. See how that works? Then you get beautiful expansion. Then it became total dog shit afterwards. And now it just is totally random on the way going up. Is it? I'm not liking the flat base breakout on real. Where's the flat base? This is just a channel. If this is a flat base, then I got Mr. Unicorn hanging outside of my window. A-Lab over prior day high. I kind of like A-Lab over 185. Take the volume that a stock is trading with and multiply it by the price, and that's your dollar volume. So anyway, guys, got to get going. Hopefully you guys all have a awesome day. Keep it easy out there. Don't do anything crazy, right? It's already been kind of a choppy January for myself as well. So hopefully you guys are all staying safe. I will see you guys bright and early tomorrow morning. Have a great rest of your day. Please trade them safely. Appreciate you guys.
But then 170 to 172, if we can hold that area, then this one looks pretty constructive for a long. You just had the imbalances. You still have them up?
Yeah.
Because we'll go to Sean for the imbalances. There's a pretty big one that you guys might also be interested in. Intel over Mill.
Yeah, Intel back to $54. Look, I have written down here, it's going to happen right now, so it's unfortunate because I was hoping that we would stay down here at 168 to 169 for this magical 170 break, but it looks like it's going to happen here with 2 minutes to go. So I really, they talked about the fundamentals improving here, massive revenue growth, talking about margins, like everything that we needed to hear about with Palantir is what was mentioned. So I think it's just maybe a punch long and then wait it out a little bit. So if we do get into 1.7, man, ever since we've switched over some of our monitor settings here, it's very tough sometimes to find this cursor. Okay, so there's the move down again. So all right, so it's a nice move there. So that doesn't look like we'll get punched in here. But yeah, we just said there was Intel on here. That just got paired off. So I guess Palantir was probably a buy. That might have been just paired off there as well. Intel was at $54. Yeah, okay, it's still going higher. I don't see it here anymore. But there's Intel. So small, oops, where was it? It was right there somewhere. Okay, everything's getting out. Oracle had a nice little bump up here as well in the pre-market. Oracle up 3% today as well. But yeah, so I really, long story short, I like Palantir here, breaking through that 170. I think it's worth a try. It's nice that we just got there, not nice that we just pulled back, but that could be our out if we're wrong. 168.50 break or so. So let's try that 170 long and then see if it works out. 168.75 or so. We just bounced cleanly off of a minute to go before the bell, and we've got another crypto IPO.
BitGo going to be one of those strange 4-symbol or 4-letter NYSE tickers. So just keep that in mind. It's on the NYSE, not the NASDAQ. BTG.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome
IPO
Kelly Loeffler, United States Administrator of the Small Business Administration.
Well, thank you, Toledo. It is great to be in the Buckeye State. I feel your warmth. Thank you so much for being here at Midwest Terminals. I am always so thankful when I get to travel with our great Vice President, J.D. Vance, especially when it means he's coming home to Ohio. And what I'm most excited about, however, is the chance to stand with you to celebrate year 1 of the America First comeback. And let me be clear, this milestone is all about you. You are the hardworking Americans who get the job done every single day. You are rebuilding this nation brick by brick, and you are the ones that endured 4 long years of Bidenomics. And you proudly put Donald J. Trump back into the White House. Now, I can tell you firsthand, President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance have not slowed down for 1 minute, and neither has their cabinet. The reason we all work so hard is because we're inspired by patriots like you. We know that you make this country great. And for me, I think of my family back home, 5-generation farm family with a small trucking company on the plains of Illinois. I know the blood, the sweat, the tears, the prayers, the dreams realized. That's the America we grew up in, where grit, not government, determined the opportunities that you had. And this administration is working with urgency because of it. We're working with resolve, and we are working unapologetically to make America great again. Now, you know what we're doing. You've seen it. We're cleaning up massive fraud, massive government waste that sent millions of dollars to Somalia, and the open borders that created chaos and imported crime to your cities and towns. And now, after 4 disastrous years, it only took President Trump 1 year to start fixing it. He didn't break it, but he is fixing it. He restored America's, yeah, let's give him a hand, yeah. Now, you've seen him. He's restored our strength and dignity on a world stage. He ended the globalist trade deals that shipped our jobs out of this country, and he brought back American energy dominance and American industry. He proudly defends faith every day and stands against the radical transgender and DEI ideologies. And now the mainstream media and the liberal elites, they said it couldn't be done. We had to accept managed decline. Well, they were dead wrong. All we needed was a new president. Now, you can see it. It's coming. The America First comeback is real, and it's starting right here in great cities like Toledo. Core inflation just reached its lowest level in 5 years. Wages and take-home pay are up. Fair trade is bringing back American industry, and with about 700,000 jobs in their first year due to $18 trillion of investment that's going to come into America, we've never seen anything like it. And the working family tax cuts will put thousands of dollars back in working families' bank accounts starting this year, because President Trump and J.D. Vance are fighting courageously for you every single day. Not the special interests, not the Washington bureaucrats and the coastal elites, but for workers, for our main streets, for our families. And there is no one who knows better, everyday Americans, Then Vice President J.D. Vance. You know his story. You know his humble beginnings in Kentucky and right here in Ohio. But now he stands in the Oval Office as the second most powerful man in the entire world, probably the universe. He's also the coolest vice president we've ever had in American history. But what's really amazing, he's a man of deep faith. He's husband to our beautiful second lady, Usha Vance, and he's soon to be the father of 4 amazing children. So, yeah, congratulations, Vice President Vance. He and President Trump do it all for you, for hardworking Americans, and it's why he's come back home today, because he's standing proudly with you to restore the American dream for generations to come. Please welcome the 50th and the greatest Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance.
It is, I gotta say, it's great to be back in Toledo, but it is cold. I got a little tour of the facility just before I came on stage, actually while Kelly was speaking, and thank you, Kelly Loeffler, our great SBA administrator. She's doing a great job, we're proud of her, but I think I'm still shivering from the tour I got outside. You guys are a hell of a lot tougher than I am to be able to manage this cold every single day, and I can't wait for the mainstream media stories today that the Vice President is suffering from unnamed tremors. And what I'm suffering from is Toledo in January. It is cold up here. I will say that when I was flying in here, you know, sometimes when you're vice president, you travel over the country, you travel over the world, and you're not always sure exactly where you're going. I was very excited to be back in Toledo today, but for a brief second, I forgot where I was coming. I opened the window and I thought the president had sent me to Greenland. And, which is going well, by the way, which is going well. But let me give a few shout outs here. Besides Kelly Loeffler, I want to thank a few people who are here. In the front row here, we have our great United States Senator for the state of Ohio, John Husted, my replacement. And he's doing a great job. He's helped us a great deal. We have the next governor of the state of Ohio, Vivek Ramaswamy. Vivek, give it up for Vivek. I believe we have Vivek's new running mate, Rob McCauley. Rob, where are you there? Hey, Rob, good to see you, man. Thank you for being here. And I see our great Secretary of State, Frank LaRose. Thank you, Frank. Now, Rob, I'll give you advice as a number 2. Here's my advice. What you need to do when you're governor, or when you're lieutenant governor and Vivek is governor, because you guys are going to win, and John Husted is going to win in November. We got to make sure that happens, right? You guys are going to get out there and make sure these guys win. We're going to be with you every step of the way, but when Rob is lieutenant governor, the secret to being a successful number 2 is to take credit for every single good thing the administration does. And when anybody criticizes the administration, you can step back and say, that was not me, that was number 1. That is how you be a successful lieutenant governor for the state of Ohio. That's my approach as Vice President of the United States, and I see my dear friend Jay Edwards, who's running for treasurer. Jay, it's good to see you, man. Thanks for everything that you've done for our state and our country. Now, I'm headed from here to Minneapolis, where we're going to talk with some of our ICE agents, talk with local officials about how we can turn down the chaos. And my simple piece of advice to them is going to be, look, if you want to turn down the chaos in Minneapolis, stop fighting immigration enforcement and accept that we have to have a border in this country. It's not that hard. If you look all across our country, what's happened in Minneapolis is happening almost nowhere else in the United States of America. And that's because whether it's in Texas or Tennessee, it's in red states, it's in blue cities, even within our country, most people are cooperating with the simple principle that we ought to be able to enforce our immigration laws and get illegal criminals the hell out of the United States of America. It's really not that complicated. But in a few distinct cities, you see this craziness because the far left has decided that the United States of America shouldn't have a border anymore, and they are willing to fight and penalize and dox and even assault our law enforcement officers in order to fight for the basic principle that anybody ought to be able to come into the United States of America. Well, I'll tell you right now, the Trump administration, we reject that. We are going to get illegal criminals out of our country, and we're not going to let a few left-wing radicals stop us. But I'm here in Toledo to talk about the great American comeback, and that is what I believe. We are 1 year in. We are 1 year in to raising wages for workers instead of declining wages for workers. We're 1 year in to $18 trillion of new investment for the United States of America instead of investment going to every other country but the United States of America. We're 1 year in to getting illegal aliens out of our country so that American homes can go to American citizens, which is exactly where they ought to go. And we are 1 year in to seeing lower inflation and bigger paychecks and more opportunity for the American worker. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that we are on the cusp of the greatest economic year in the history of the United States of America because we're doing something new for a change. We're investing in you. We're investing in American workers. We're investing in American businesses, and we're saying to everybody that the United States is open for business, but only if you invest in our great American people and our great American businesses. We are done with the old approach of shipping American jobs overseas and investing in everybody else. We're back to investing in the American worker, and we're not going to stop fighting for you until we return America to the true golden age of great American prosperity. Now, even a year in, we've already seen incredible success from the Trump administration's economic policies. The IRS says that this is going to be the biggest tax refund year in the history of the United States of America. And I know there are a lot of far-left Democrats like Marcy Kaptur who don't like it when the government gives you back your hard-earned money, but the Trump administration believes that you earned it, you ought to keep it, and we ought to keep our hands the hell out of your pocket in Washington, D.C. So why are we going to have the biggest tax year, the biggest refund year in the history of the United States of America? It's because the president, working with the Republican Congress, got no taxes on tips. It's because we got no taxes on overtime. It's because we got no taxes on Social Security. 3 promises that we ran on, 3 promises the President of the United States kept, and because of it, every single person in this room and every single person in the state of Ohio is going to benefit from it. That's what we said we were going to do. We were going to end the green energy scam and invest in American energy workers, and we did it. We're going to reward companies for investing in the United States of America and penalize companies for trying to invest in communist China and places all over the world. We said we were going to do it, and we did it. And because of it, we're starting to see the benefits for American workers every single day. We have the lowest inflation that we've had, well, since the last Trump administration. We have rising wages for American workers. You know that under the Biden administration, those terrible, terrible times, under the Biden administration, you lost an average of $3,000 over that 4 years because inflation was out of control and wages were stagnant for our country. You know, under the first year of the Trump administration, you've already gained over $1,300 in real wage gains. And my friends, we are just getting started. Because what the President of the United States says every single day is we are not done fighting for the American worker until we get everything back that the Biden-Harris administration took away and more beyond that. I don't want you to just struggle to get by. I don't want you to worry about paying your credit card bill or your medical benefits. I don't want you to think, do I buy prescription drugs or do I buy food? That is the legacy of the Democratic Congress under the Biden-Harris administration, and it's something we can't go back to. A lot of you know my story. I mean, this is my home. You all, well, you voted for me, at least most of you did. So, actually, in this room, I probably got about 100% of the vote. I think I see a few people who weren't old enough to vote for me in 2022, but look, you know my story. You know the fact that I grew up in a family. I was raised by a grandmother who would look at her credit card statement every single day and wonder, what can we afford? Can I buy my medicine this month, or do I need to focus on food? Can we take a little bit extra maybe and buy those pills that she needed in order to stay healthy and keep our family afloat? These are the decisions that way too many families had to take under the Biden administration. And under the Trump administration, we want better for you. And we're fighting better for you every single day. We want you to have enough prosperity to, yes, buy the things that you need, to, yes, buy those medications and put food on the table, but maybe to take a little vacation. Because if you work hard every single day, you ought to be able to enjoy the fruits of your labor. Maybe you want to buy something extra for your kids. Maybe you want to do something that you couldn't do when you were a kid, because that is the promise of the American dream, that we leave the next generation a little bit better off than the generation that came before. And what we had under the Biden-Harris administration is lower wages. We had higher prices. We had more people struggling to get by, and more people who gave up on the essentials instead of buying the things that they needed to buy. What we have under the Trump administration is a totally different approach. And what we're trying to do, and what we've already done a lot over the last year, is made you wealthier, has made your communities safer, has gotten those illegal aliens out of the United States of America, and is trying to rebuild that all-important American dream. So I have a very simple question. Do we, 1 year into this great American recovery, do we want to go back to the failed policies of the Biden-Harris administration? No, we don't. So let's keep doubling down on American prosperity. Let's keep doubling down on the American worker. And let's tell Marcy Kaptur and the rest of the crazy congressional Democrats that we are not going back. We are going forward to a brighter future for every single one of our citizens. You know, there are things the media doesn't talk about that I think are so important to highlight because they show real progress for the American people. Did you know that for 4 years under the Biden-Harris administration, Americans paid the highest prescription drug costs anywhere in the world? And we did it because we had an administration that refused to go to Big Pharma and say, this is ridiculous that you're charging 1/10 the price in England or in France that you are in the United States of America. So what did the president do? One of the first things President Trump did is he hauled these pharmaceutical executives into the Oval Office. He wasn't getting any help from Congress, though we certainly would have appreciated Marcy Kaptur helping us lower prescription drug costs, but we weren't getting that help. So what did he do? He brought the pharma executives into the Oval Office and he said, you are done forcing Americans to pay more for prescription drugs than any other country anywhere in the world. And so now, thanks to the president's leadership and thanks to the support of our congressional allies like John Husted, we have prescription drug costs coming down in this country for the very first time. Whether it's antibiotics or whether it's cancer drugs, whether it's the most advanced therapeutics that exist anywhere in the world, Americans are seeing lower costs. And they're going to keep on seeing lower costs because the President of the United States had the courage to fight for you rather than international pharmaceutical companies. Now, the media doesn't talk about that because, of course, it makes us look good, but these are the victories that depend on having smart, wise leadership in Washington, D.C. You know, another thing the media doesn't talk about is that under 4 years of the Biden administration, the average cost of a home in the United States of America nearly doubled. And in certain jurisdictions, it actually got way worse than that. There are certain places where the cost of a home in 4 years went up by 200%. What's happened over the last 5 months? Rents have gone down over the past 5 months. And so though there's still a lot of work left to do, we're finally seeing more Americans being interested, especially our young families, being interested in buying a home for the first time. We're seeing those rents come down. We're seeing the cost of housing flatten out a little bit. And one of the biggest reasons is because on the one hand, we lowered the regulatory burdens to build houses in this country, while on the other hand, we got illegal aliens out of the United States of America who are taking American homes. That is how you lower prices. Focus on American workers and invest in American home building. You don't give all of our homes to illegal aliens. That is the legacy of the Biden-Harris administration. But on all these things, we know there is still so much work to do. And this is something I want you to hear. The Democrats talk a lot about the affordability crisis in the United States of America. And yes, there is an affordability crisis, one created by Joe Biden's policies. You don't turn the Titanic around overnight. It takes time to fix what was broken. I said earlier that the average American has seen $1,300 of real increase in their wages just in the past year. Well, Joe Biden, they saw a $3,000 decrease. Now, on the one hand, I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the fact that you're $1,300 richer than you were just a year ago. But you know what really pisses me off? That compared to when Donald Trump left office after his first term, you're still about $2,000 poorer. Because that's what happened under the Biden administration. They did so much damage that it's going to take us time to rebuild the great American prosperity that we had at the end of the first Trump administration. But what I'm telling you is that we are committed to doing it. As much as the media focuses on distractions every single day, in the Oval Office, the president looks at us and says, why haven't we done more? Let's do more. Do more. He'll tell us, person by person, from the Secretary of Commerce to the Secretary of the Treasury to our SBA administrator to the Vice President of the United States. Fight every single day for better home prices for Americans, for lower prescription drug prices, and of course for rising wages. That is what we're going to do. That is what we have done, and that is what we promise will be the legacy of the second Trump administration. More prosperity for you. Now, I want to take a few questions from the media, but before I do, I just want to close with this thought. So, you know, growing up in Middletown, Ohio, which is pretty much due south on I-75, a lot of you probably spent time in Middletown in the same way that growing up I spent a fair amount of time in Toledo. The story of towns like Toledo, the story of towns like Middletown when I was growing up was one of decline. It was a story of factories closing down, of good people losing their jobs, of families that were fracturing under the financial stress that sometimes comes when people lose that access to a good job. That is not the future that we should expect for our children. We should demand better from our leaders, and that's exactly what the Trump administration is promising. Not a story where you open up the morning paper or you turn on the TV and you see a factory that's closed down, but you see a new factory that's being built. Not a story where your neighbor lost their job, but a story where your neighbor gets a new and better job because of what is being built right here in towns like Toledo. Not communities that are unsafe, where you get mugged or murdered walking down the street, but where every single person, rich or poor, black or white, can enjoy their God-given right to public safety in their own community because we're fighting for law enforcement as opposed to against law enforcement like the last administration. I want the grandmothers, like my grandmother, who are raising grandkids they weren't necessarily planning to raise. I want them to not have to choose between putting food on the table or buying their medicine. That is the future that we're fighting for. And that is what the Democrats in D.C. have fought against every single day of this administration. Now, I don't want to say all Democrats, because my mamaw, the woman who raised me, was one of those blue dog Democrats. She was socially conservative, she was patriotic, but she was a Democrat. And I know that in Toledo, there are a lot of those Democrats still today. But I got to tell you, in Washington, D.C., those Democrats do not exist. They disappeared from Washington, D.C. They care more in Washington about using this country as one big fraud scheme than they do about fighting for your prosperity. And that's why we cannot reward these people come November. What are they actually fighting for? Well, we know what they're fighting against. They hate Donald Trump obsessively, and they talk about it every single day. They want men to play in women's sports, which is crazy, but even aside from it's crazy, why the hell are you talking about that instead of figuring out how to fight for the American people? They want the Somali fraud ring in Minneapolis and frankly in other states too to continue. While a lot of Americans can't afford the cost of child care, they want to take the very programs that we use to make child care more affordable and give them to fraudsters who are illegally in our country to begin with. These are not politicians who care about you. They care about keeping the fraud going. And the question in November is very fundamental. It's going to be, do we reward the people like John Husted, who cut your taxes, who fights for lower housing costs, who fights for lower prescription drug costs? Or do we reward the crazy far-left Democrats who think that America is one big get-rich scheme for fraudsters? That's it. That's simply the question. So I'm asking you, are we going to fight for the people who are fighting for the American dream? Are we going to send a message to the far-left radicals that this country belongs to American citizens, not to illegal aliens? Are we going to fight for the American dream for people like my grandmother and people like your children every single day? So let's remember what we're fighting for this November. It's to have political leadership in this country that fights for the American people, that fights for the American dream. Don't forget it, my friends. Let's work hard. Let's elect these great candidates to higher office, because that's the only way we are going to send a message to the Democrats that this country belongs to Americans and that the American dream belongs to the citizens who built this nation. God bless you, and thank you for having me.
The 15 to 7
move. We'll wait to see what winds up happening there. Intel, is it at that 52.80 yet? No. So it does pretty much bounce right off 53. I mean, that was close enough into that spot for us from yesterday's low, 52.80. So we're going to try to pay attention for Intel making a move lower. I mean, the futures just cracked again lower. So it looks like, you know, we may wind up getting stopped out of all of our trades at some point, which is why it's important to take some of these profits when they're there. Google's coming right back into 331. So I'm bidding, just make sure here, I'm bidding 331.50 right now. And just in case we don't get that low, let me buy a little bit here in the 60s. But it looks like, okay, so Palantir, again, another loss there. So we'll go 0 for 3. But it's all just like, well, this one wasn't really a loss, but there it was 0 for 2, I guess, on these reload ideas. But we keep on trying 167, and I don't know why I'm obsessed with that level, but seems to not want to hold after all. And here we go. Now we just got into the low of the day again for Google. And this time, man, if we break 331, that's the level that I was looking at. If we break that, we're gone. And we are not going to hang around for this PCE number after all. So here it goes. Hopefully we do get a little bit of a bounce back up, but that's a reload there at 331.50 for me.
It's critical metals is absolutely flying around. 2 minutes ago until we have the numbers coming through, but 13, now 14% on CRML. These guys did not do very well yesterday, as you can obviously see. Just want to quickly jump back over to see how Tesla is doing. Don't think I'm going to be getting... I might not get that SMCI fill. Still have 2 minutes to go. Could happen. But the confirmation for Tesla above VWAP, well, that distinctly did not happen. Broke out, no consolidation, nothing. There was no bid on the way back in. Still looking incredibly weak. That's exactly the fake out I didn't want to get trapped in. You got to show me the high or low, or I'm not going to be jumping into you at all. I feel the same way about that SMR for a secondary play. No, it held the bottom. Show me some strength in here above the volume weighted average price before I pop back in to that bad boy. So keep the symbols coming in. As I mentioned, yeah, we didn't even talk about the metals.
No.
Critical metals, yes. We didn't talk about silver and gold. With the market coming back, slight up move in silver. Only 1.5% and not breaking through the top. So I still think you've got 87 as a big level, lower highs put on through. This one wasn't even on the radar today because silver is more exciting when it's going into new territory, not when it's hanging out in old.
Yeah, that's for sure. All right, so we're still just waiting for something to happen with Google. I'm at 94 right now. I got a couple outs here. There it is. Got a couple outs in the 80s already off this most recent reload. But as we said, trying to get a little lighter into the numbers. So we are now 2 minutes away from PCE. We'll wind up seeing what winds up happening there. Offers at 332.50 if it does go up, and then out at 331. I'm going to take another piece, actually, right here, if we can, on Google, just to get that out. Thank you so much, Randy.
Thanks.
We decided yesterday, actually, that we really liked your tariff espresso.
The espressos were
So that was really good. We wouldn't mind.
for like the after the open kind of.
Yeah, we can grab that around this time, next time. But thank you, Randy. No, that's great. We just wasn't here yesterday, so.
Forgot to mention it.
Yeah, all good.
Oh, that halt is open back up. SPHL.
Oh, we're still waiting for the IPO too.
Yeah, Springview just that's instantly halted. All right, so Springview reopened and instantly halts. It's going to halt at 825. There it is, instantly halted a second time. This might be one of those stocks. Just for the record, this stock has yet to do 500,000 shares. So if you're looking at SPHL, yes, it's up 43%. No, it is not incredibly liquid at all. I wouldn't be touching with a 10-foot pole. We have less than 1 minute to go, so we're going to go to Adara. We've got happening now and PCE data coming through.
Yep.
Here's the thing, guys, in case you either forgot or were not aware, we're not just getting October PCE, we're also getting November. So 2 months worth of PCE and core PCE data coming out right now at 10 a.m. Also getting personal income and personal spending for both October and November. So PCE price index year over year forecast 2.8% for October, previous print 2.8%. PCE month over month 0.3%. Here is the previous 0.2% forecast. Core PCE year over year 2.8% forecast, and core PCE month over month 0.2% forecast. We should be getting these numbers right now, waiting for these to populate. Not currently seeing them. Just give me 2 seconds here, guys, but we are waiting on that PCE here at 10 a.m. Yeah, still not seeing anything. We're just going to wait and see what happens here. Again, though, we are expecting it for both October and November, and it looks like we have it now. So PCE year over year 2.8%, exactly in line with estimates of 2.8%. PCE month over month 0.2% versus 0.2% expected. Core PCE year over year 2.79%, so slightly below estimates of 2.8%. Core PCE month over month flat compared to estimates 0.2% versus 0.2% expected. Consumer spending month over month also in line with estimates 0.5% versus 0.5% expected. But personal income month over month a little bit lower than expected at 0.3% compared to estimates of 0.4%. Let's take a look at this market to see how it's reacting to this number. Not really just pushing lower. As mentioned, pretty much all of those PCE and consumer spending prints were exactly in line with estimates. Let's talk about INTC, though, speaking of estimates, because they're reporting earnings after the bell tonight at 4 p.m. You can catch those live on our earnings show at 4. We did have Mobileye, which, of course, Intel is affiliated with. They reported earnings before the bell today and did not react positively. But Intel actually reporting again after the bell. Let's talk here about SNDK and MU, because these memory plays have been really strong. Pulling back quite sharply here, at least off the open. MU getting a positive analyst note here from William Blair initiating coverage on the stock. No negative news on these, but looks like just a little bit of a pullback as we get the rest of the market trying to pull back from this early strength as well. Do remember to like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. Back to you.
If you're looking for strength, look no further than Alibaba.
Yeah.
Now 5%, 6% to the upside, just broke through the highs. Just no dip buy to be had in this one. It's been all green, so you're through the pre-market top here. I'm going to do a quick jaunt over to see what it did at Blue Ocean. The overnight market gives you a fantastic opportunity to sort of see where some of the key levels might be from the prior evening. Well, that was already a breakout here. This is one of the reasons I like that 73. But we're not going to get a chance to trade off of those levels. We're pretty much gonzo, just exactly the same thing. So we're going to wait for the first pullback, maybe back into 78 would make a little bit of sense. IBIT is not popping. Where's the bounce, baby? Where is the bounce? Give me another lower high to get in. I missed this one by sitting at VWAP, so I'm gonna hang out underneath VWAP instead of at the volume weighted average price and try to jump back into this. Market looking weak. Oh, so glad that I got out of SMR, and I might have to pay for locates. So we jumped out of SMR, which was the initial breakout, loses VWAP. This is now turned into a, I'm looking short now on SMR. So false break, we got it. We're able to at least get the move, but you put in a false break through the high and then hold VWAP. This turns into a bit of a short trade. Not like a Luis small cap special, but I'm going to be shorting pops in this, adding it to the list. Got to be able to switch it up. Even if it was a long early, it ain't one now.
All right, finally, what's up to Canada? What's up to this alert right there? As Google, we just got 332.40s right there. So it turned out to be a really good out on the upside. So we'll take $1 on our last little reload. But I'm getting nervous. I mean, the market's dropping, so we are not, this is not going to be the greatest hold of all time. I mean, unless it comes all the way back up. So I'm now going to wait for that. Yeah, I hear that heart rate right there going through. We do have a decent amount of shares on board right now, but, we're going to just start to get out there. I put it offered 28s there. We just grabbed that. So now let's wait for VWAP. That's 333 flat. So I actually have an offer there. We'll see if that can come up. And then we're still going to stop out if it breaks 331 and no more reloads at all. The market's really coming in. We said that we'd like to buy potentially the TQQs on any kind of a dip into $53. That's coming in right now as well. So we're going to try to grab that at 53 flat or so, and then not give it too much more. If it does break back down below this $53 mark, then we can get out of the TQs. We're not even in it yet. As of yet, anyways. Mobileye had some earnings, I believe, MLBY.
Yeah, they reported.
And wow, only $10. Wow, pretty bad stock.
Did it break 10
there? No, it didn't. Did it break 10 yet today? No, it came close, 10.01. All right, Palantir bouncing off 165. Do we want to go back into this name? The good thing about it is we've lost about just under a third of what we've made on this Google trade, but it does come into 165 and give us that little base there. So, potentially here 165.20s or so for Palantir. Just keep on my eye on that Google trade. And then again, like CoreWeave has been a good one. I see a lot of people talking about CoreWeave, so big shout out to Handy Manic that's in there right now, and a big shout out to everybody that's part of this group, man. I mean, here we go. Here's a super chat. Dual, we can talk about that Duolingo. Let's have a quick look at that in a minute. Thank you so much for the 5 super chat, 5 memberships. So there it is, man. Dylan Gavi, thank you so much for everything you're doing there, and another new member there with Mr. P Panda again coming through. Adara, is there any news on Duolingo again? So we can have a quick look over there and ask Adara before we look it up. Go Gadget, Google, hopefully. D-U-O-L. There it is, Duolingo. Let's see about this parabolic.
Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely nothing, says Adara. So there it goes, man, 148 up to 154. And this could just be a relief rally there. I mean, it's just been getting hit so bad. This name has been an absolute disaster.
If you go to the monthly chart,
go ahead.
Huge level on the monthly.
Okay, so yeah.
So maybe there is something here. Just simply bouncing off of 145, 146, some of those lows. So shout out to Duolingo. Great product. At least some people think it's good. My daughter absolutely loves it. But it's been getting absolutely woodshedded. It looks like it's a good technical level for sure. We got another super chat from Dylan. You just made 2K on SXTP. Small capper, that was on the list. I'm pretty sure that was the top name on Luis's list. On his watch list when he came on this morning. Shutting down for the day. Thank you all for what you do. Shout out to Sharif for all your insights on the small cap gappers. SXTP. I always say it slowly. It just helps me when I'm typing it in. This is it. The pre-market is where you get your entries. That's your chance to have even gotten VWAP. And what does it do after 9:30? Makes one high and already pulling back. You can be one and done. And Luis even reiterated this as well. Where some of these you got to be able to and be willing to play in the pre-market if there is enough liquidity, which it seems like on this there is enough 135 million shares worth of volume, coming back in a little bit, but 220% is nothing to sneeze at. All right, so I'm back into SMCI. The double bottom is now a triple bottom at prior day lows. So first it was a 33 break and take. Second, it's the bounce off of the low. Can we even get to VWAP is the question. Like we're just sort of struggling to get the bounce into the volume weighted average price. That's how weak the market has been. So if we can grab that, we'll look for the next trade. But if we lose the triple bottom, I'm out of this. Like I'm not trying to reload this. 3 times is hopefully a charm. Trying to catch this bid. The NASDAQ doesn't seem to want to help anything out here. We're still very much trending. I mean, to say we're trending down is kind of obvious, but we're pretty much back to where we were at the close. We haven't gone red yet. So there's at least somewhere we can bounce. We can hold from going into the red. We had the poll up this morning, and I voted bullish, and the bulls are still at 80%. 3,800 votes, and 80% of us were bullish. Well, you really had to pick your spots, bulls, this morning. If it was on the overall market, micro bounces you could have had, you had to be in some individually strong names. Another reason why we go through both the rundown, Therese noticed, to kind of weed out, get the wheat from the chaff and separate them so you can find some good opportunities, because it hasn't been easy to find them in a weak market today.
Yeah, it just goes to show you, like, you know, this is why trading is so tough and why I like that idea of hitting your goals, being done for the day. So congratulations to that super chat. And there you go, man. When 85% of the chat thinks one way, that's probably a good sign that it's going the other. I'm going to take SMR breaking through 20 bucks. I'm only going to give it 10 cents if it does do this break, which it looks like it might want to do right now. And I just think it's worth the risk, SMR, if it does get going. We know the sort of, you know, firepower that this name could have underneath it. So I think it's worth it. If you get a breakthrough here on SMR, I mean, we're trying to bounce right now off some levels. So we'll see if it does wind up holding this 1980 or so. That's like 1980. 2 or 3, probably a good year, right back into there. So we'll see if we take out 20, and I'm only going to give it, I don't want to, like, I'm using a little more shares here, so I don't want to give it too much. Probably just give this 10 cents, and if it blasts through and we wind up taking the hit on it, fine. I think it's well worth it there for SMR, giving it back through. And here it goes. If it does break, we're going to get our order in right now. So there we go. We're long. So let's go 1989. Like I said, if it breaks lower, we get stopped out of this one. I think it might be worth it here. We're long SMR at 201. So here we go again. We'll see if we can get some kind of a play on the upside here for SMR. And there it is, 08s. Can we get it? Yes, we can. So we'll take a couple 08s out there. We'll get an 09. So they're already 1-to-1 on SMR. So yeah, man, good trading over on this side again. We just gave you that. I know Neil's had a good trade today. And there goes Google, a couple good ones. And there goes Google finally breaking. So we did not reload this name. We're now going to focus on SMR, but Google finally breaks 331, a big, huge trade. We actually wind up making a little less than we did on Intel, but still a good trade there for us. And by the way, boom, we just gave you this one. So how you like that one, guys? There's a nice play on SMR up to 15s. This was giving us just, there it is. We'll take the 17s out. This was giving us 5, I gave you 10 cents. So we'll take 17 here, see if we can get a little bit higher. There it is. We got 19. So now, guys, I'm out of 70% of this trade for basically 2-to-1 on that last piece. So here goes SMR, a nice move to make it through those levels. Google might have bounced off 331, but we just stopped out of what we had left, man. We really emptied the clip up here around 332. So that was a really good trade. Still holding our day and our heads high. Good trading so far. SMR, my most recent one, looking pretty decently there.
Yeah, you just got into the long that worked. I guess got out of VWAP on SMCI. Might mix those two up a little bit here today. SMR traded earlier, but SMCI triple bottom. Now we're right back to that 33 test. So it gets to VWAP. That was the plan of action the entire way. I said if it's trending down, show me the holdover VWAP. I'm going to take that trade every single time. But this is now looking a little bit better. The fact that we're back into our breakout price, I just want to see the V shape. Like, give me something to hold on to. Like, give me a bid up here on the 15-minute for a re-entry over the prior day. The market's still bleeding to the downside, so we're able to capture. And again, I call it getting away with it, where, yeah, we pull back into prior high works, the retake of the breakout ends up working, but it's a downward trending stock. It's a fail of the pre-market high, it's then a lower high put in, and it's still downward trending. So for now, yeah, longs might be working on the stock if you can get the entries, but it is going against the grain. And if I'm going against the grain, got to be very particular about it and try to go station to station. Intel's still trending down. Nothing looking good. The only good thing about Intel is it's now setting up a trend to the downside. So I can now put this in and say, hey, look, we've got a downward trend on Intel that can get broken. So the mean reversion trade today would actually be a long on Intel instead of a short, which I was kind of expecting it to be.
Guys, if someone handed you $1.25 million to trade, would your process change or just your upside? That's the opportunity Funded Futures Network provides. They're a futures prop firm that gives traders access to large SIM and live funded accounts every day. They've already paid millions to traders around the world with fast same-day and daily payouts. And right now, evaluation accounts are 50% off. There's buy one, get one free, and no activation fees. You can find the link below or scan the QR code on your screen to check it out. Funded Futures Network. Thank you to them for sponsoring. You know what? Let's do something here. Let's go find out who made all the money yesterday. So these are the top traders. We trade at Real Trading here, which is, of course, a prop firm as well. So we trade prop on this show. We trade actual contracts as far as futures are concerned. We trade actual equities there. We don't trade CFDs or anything like that. And these are, we have over 60 live markets. So I'm just going to scroll down real quick here yesterday. So yesterday, big day alert, big day alert, big day alert yesterday. So these are all US denominated funds. So yesterday there was a trader. There's over 2,000 traders worldwide here at Real Trading, trading on the same platform that Neil and I are trading with. This is $48,000. So someone made $48,000 yesterday. Great trading by that gentleman or he or she. 42,000 for this trader there. They traded both the Amex, so Amex probably SPY there, or BMNR, things like that. There's, as we always say, there's lots of tricks to the trade in this market. Canada as well, big time numbers there for Canada, yeah. Amex. So probably a bunch of SPY trades in there yesterday. I mean, again, when Trump, I told you I was mad because as soon as that came out, man, we could just punch along. Obviously, smarter traders than us did. And there it is, man, nicely cooking yesterday. It was all North American. So normally we do get some European talk here as well. These are individual offices, P&L by trader. Oh, here's P&Ls by individual markets. So someone had Blue Ocean, 2,300, the CSE, 6,700, and so on and so forth. NASDAQ, NYMEX. So there we go. Anything trade over there. Nat Gas potentially as well. Someone did some damage over there in NYMEX yesterday. So that's who's making and where the money is coming from here at Real Trading. Okay, well, Google just flew through to 330. We tried to 330. We got out at 330. So we'll lose 10 cents there or 20 cents there on that kind of a play. But I'm going to try it one more time, actually, and give it a little bit more room now, because I do think that this market at some point thinks about at least coming back to the upside here. So we'll buy a little more Google down here at 330 and see if it does want to hold out. Let's give this one to 329.50, okay? I do like the trade. Not going to give back. Going to give back a whole bunch here if it does not work out for us. So we'll try to buy some 330 flats or so and see if that winds up working out for us. But here we go. A little bit of a dip buy opportunity there for us on Google into 330. My stop was too frugal there. It was like literally at 330. I got 330.20s there. So it breaks by 10 cents and then goes back up. So we should still probably be in this trade. Let's just make back what we lost. If I got out right now, that's what we would do. But let's see. Let's take out one piece now. I just offered 70s. Maybe we get that. And then we'll offer again in the 90s and see if we can get something up there. Let's see if Google wants to just give us back what we just lost. They're bad out for me, breaking that 330. So let's see. We're here in Google now, offering 68s, and see if we can get that. And still long on SMR, which is now higher than it's ever been for me. We get another out at 20. That's going to be a good trade. Not so much diamond hands there. What's up, Jay Bronson? He's got the dollar club going right there. We like that. So I'll find it right. Oh, I don't have it there. Oh, I'll find it for you any minute anyways. But there it is, Bronson. Thank you so much for you and all that you've contributed to this chat. I've seen you. There it is right there. He's got the dollar club. So when that happens, we hit that for you. There it is, dollar club on CRML. Bang, says Aura Alpha. You're welcome, pros. So yeah, I hope everybody was able to get that in here. There it is, Adam James again. Meta. 636 retest. So watch out there. I know that's a play that you've been talking about for a minute. And by the way, there it goes, man. SMR. Wow, what a mover there. Neil, this was 10 cents worth of risk right here to grab 35 cents. So let's take advantage of that, offer some 34s. Ooh, we did not get out there at 34. Not bad risk to reward there on SMR.
Yeah, it's been given it to you on SMR, no questions asked. And that's part of the course. You got to go to what is moving. But what I just want to point out on SMR, the potential for something special if it gets through 21. I still think that's going to be there. We'll talk about that if and when we're able to get there. Look, obviously a heavy dip, but we're starting to, at least for myself, you've now got a bit of a trend, 1, 2, 3. So a topping tail candle is going to get put in there. This could break trend over VWAP, SMCI. For that reentry, it just broke out above VWAP, so we're going to look to get back into this. This also gave you another 1% move off of the lows, but I want it pressing into the top. I like to say inventory, it's Obi's term, inventory into a break instead of having the break. I don't want to be long a breakout through the high. I want to be long going into a potential break is going to be the play. And I still do not seem to get picked up in
This market is going lower.
Bitcoin. Like every time it comes up to my level, the downtrend, it just puts in another lower high. So I'm not really getting the entries on IBIT. But I'm going to jump back in SMR over VWAP. Stop out is going to be this prior bar here on the 3-minute chart, as you can see. And JA5304 saying CRISPR is up 5%. Is there any news? I didn't see any news on CRISPR myself. I can double check for you, but it's worth keeping in mind that there's probably a few things that are up today that are just relief rallying. So there might be particular news. Darish said she'll look as well.
Nothing on CRISPR.
Yeah, there's nothing on CRISPR. There's a lot of things that are going to be up today on pure relief rally. The thing about CRISPR is this break here, look at all the resistance at $60. I just feel like this thing is squeezing if it takes that out. It was more of a technical thing why I made it my pick. I pivoted from Boeing, which I like fundamentally more, but I just think it's a technical break if this gets through 60, and then it just starts flying.
All right, so far so good on the Google retest there, and we'll take a little bit out. We're long at 04s. We just got some out there in the 30s, but here it comes right back through again on Google. So I don't know if this market's going to hold or not. I mean, we're down into some levels. I should be potentially buying the TQQs down here. It's at the level that I had said at $53. It's just I'm not. Sans any sort of a news story. We don't have any more numbers unless we do. Let me just double check. Though nothing, so nothing else today. So maybe the market.
Elon thing.
Yeah, maybe the Elon thing, whatever. Maybe the market is safe for now, but I don't know. Let's see. We are already up 1% there today, and it's been a quite, like I said, the chat here forever defeated today, that's for sure. This was 83%, 80-20 bulls. So yeah, there hasn't really been a bullish move. I know that we've been making more. I'm positive. We're positive today, which is nice. So it's fine. But it hasn't really been too much of an extension. We're really, really lucky, man. My whole day is on Google. We've only have and SMR now, but SMR, Google, Palantir is what we've given some back on, trying to chase these longs. It looks like the 165 long is going to hold, but I say is going to hold, that's too certain, but has been holding. And I just meant if the market does continue to go backside there, this is going to have been a good long, and it's not too early or too late to take it now against that 165. I've just been, I'm sort of already long, and this had not been right. So Palantir all the way back up. And I thought this was going to be a positive day, man. Long 170 break. Phillips with an upgrade there. It's on my notes, so we'll see. Okay, here we go, Neil. Now we're starting to go on Google. What the hell? Nice move, guy. Yeah, we like that one on Google. I wasn't even prepared for that. We got some 50s, then now we get some 70s. Huge move up for Google. There it is, man. The bulls, we ride again, ladies and gentlemen. It's a nice trade on SMR. It's a nice trade on Google as it keeps on getting to the high side right now. You're going to look at SMCI, so I'm just going to quickly look at Tesla and just have a quick look same kind of thing as the futures, trying to base out. Kind of looks like a little bit like Palantir at these lows, but this has made a move back higher. So there goes Tesla. Great trading over there. Great trading by SMR and Google. And Neil's had some great winners today. My stock, Marvell. We're still going to wait for BBAI, RVL. We're still going to wait for BBAI to get going through $6. Marvell bouncing nicely as well off 83. So we'll see if Marvell can get going. That's 2% now in the green. All right, man, almost $1 right here on the Google reload. So far so good.
was going to speak last night. It was a well-established event at the USA House. Simple conversation, discussion. After Trump's speech, they made sure that I didn't. They made sure it was canceled. And that's what's happening in the United States of America. Freedom of expression, freedom of assembly, freedom of speech. It's America in reverse. They're censoring historical facts. They're rewriting history. I was going to speak last night. It was a well-established event at the USA House. Simple conversation, discussion. After Trump's speech, they made sure that I didn't. They made sure it was canceled. And that's what's happening in the United States of America. Freedom of expression, freedom of assembly, freedom of speech. It's America in reverse. They're censoring historical facts. They're rewriting history. I was going to speak last night. It was a well-established event at the USA House. Simple conversation, discussion. After Trump's speech, they made sure that I didn't. They made sure it was canceled. And that's what's happening in the United States of America. Freedom of expression, freedom of assembly, freedom of speech. It's America in reverse. They're censoring historical facts. They're rewriting history. I was going to speak last night.
Make it a habit, 7 minutes of Tai Chi every morning all the way for 1 month. This Monday, we will start the
an arrest and
for joining us this morning as we keep the public current on the status of Operation Metro Surge. As you know, DHS has arrested over 10,000 illegal aliens in Minnesota in the past year and over 3,300 illegal aliens since we launched Operation Metro Surge on November 29th. But instead of discussing statistics, we're going to discuss it's important to know that there's a cost for everything, and the cost of Minnesota's sanctuary policies is steep. ICE is in the Twin Cities to remove criminal illegal aliens who have been released from jails and prisons despite the risks they pose to the public. The people we've arrested here are not people you want living next door to your families, your children, your parents, or your best friends. They're criminals like Salvadorian criminal illegal alien Carlos Antonio Flores Miguel, an MS-13 gang member and registered sex offender with a final order of removal from 2021. He was deported 4 times and convicted of illegal entry twice, and was charged with strong-arm rape and resisting an officer. Despite being arrested in El Salvador for robbery, the Biden administration released him in the United States in 2022. When we arrested him, he punched and kicked our officers and even attempted to grab an officer's gun. I don't know if it's up there, but this is our jump. This is the people that these protesters are protecting. We also arrested St. Lucian criminal illegal alien Nelbert Joseph, who has 11 criminal convictions, including larceny, stolen vehicle offenses, and has a final order of removal in 2023. We picked up Cuban criminal illegal alien Ivan Rodriguez Lopez, who has a final order of removal from 2018 and was convicted of assault, possession of methamphetamine, theft, and burglary. He also has prior charges for neglect or endangerment of a child and a DUI. These are the people protesters are protecting. We picked up Cuban criminal illegal alien, nope, sorry, it's the wrong guy. Another one is a Laotian criminal illegal alien, Yao Li, who was convicted of second-degree murder. and a Mexican criminal illegal alien, Pedro Laguna Cruz, who has multiple DUI convictions and a conviction of possession of controlled substance. These are the people who the church agitators were protesting for. These are the people the violent agitators ramming our vehicles and attacking our officers are trying to defend. It's easy to debate immigration enforcement when it's abstract, but behind every one of these arrests is someone who committed a crime that put your friends, family, neighbors, community in danger. The public deserves to know exactly who ICE has taken off the streets and why we're here today. It's my responsibility to make sure everyone understands that ICE is only in this state to pick up the ball that local leadership has dropped. Today, I want to ask Governor Walz and Mayor Fry directly, please honor our immigration detainers that we've lodged against criminal illegal aliens in Minnesota, in the state's jails and prisons. Please work with us instead of against us. Please remember the victims whose voices are no longer here to speak for themselves. Please stop creating obstacles to keep Minnesotans safe. We're all on the same team, and our cooperation will save lives. I'd like to turn this over to Commander Greg Bovino.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Well, good morning. I'm Greg Bovino, Commander at Large of Customs and Border Patrol Assets here in this great city of Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'm glad to be here this morning. I'll make a few remarks and then we're going to open this up to questions. Please hold all questions until the end. Now, folks, we've seen the excellent work that Mr. Marcos Charles has detailed here. This excellent work on these screens here. Marcos, you and your team are out there every day, Border Patrol, ICE, and those allied teams, and they're taking these folks off the streets. These folks were walking the streets less than 24 hours ago. Marcos and his team and Border Patrol are taking them off the streets by the dozens and sometimes hundreds every single day. So that's some fantastic work. We want to continue to accomplish that work. But what I would like to touch upon this morning is how much better this work could be. How much better can we do what we do? And how much better for who? For you, which you being Ma and Pa America and the taxpayer, how much better this work can be for the taxpayer. Now, better to the citizens here of Minneapolis as well. Minneapolis, 2020 riots, this most current influx of anarchists and folks that want to disparage and occlude this Title VIII law enforcement mission. So we can do this much better for the citizens of Minneapolis. And what this revolves around is the climate, the current climate surrounding law enforcement and this Title VIII mission in which ICE, Border Patrol, and these allied teams are fighting so hard to accomplish. Now, this climate that we talk about is not very favorable right now in Minneapolis. Let's put that as our first point. It's not very favorable to federal law enforcement here in Minneapolis. Let's take a look at what happened yesterday. Some of you may know that Border Patrol and ICE were out conducting our Title VIII mission, and several of our teams were set upon by violent protesters, anarchists, rioters, individuals, and extremists that were intent on ensuring that we did not take these very people that Marcos talked about off the streets. Intent that we would not arrest these individuals, these illegal aliens that prey upon Ma and Pa America every single day. So yesterday I had the fortunate opportunity to once again work with those fine agents in ICE and Border Patrol. And in doing so, from the very beginning of the shift all the way through the end of the shift, all day long, it was a running battle with those very extremists that I've talked about. So as we were looking to conduct that targeted enforcement, against some very vile criminals, we were met with resistance. One of those criminals that we were after was Victor Urice. Mr. Victor Urice, a target that we were after yesterday. This individual is a convicted felon from Mexico with serious weapons offenses, fleeing from police, and a criminal rap sheet so long that I can't remember it all. That's who we were after yesterday. Now, as we were after Mr. Urice, we were set up on rioters who tried to stop us at every point yesterday. Simply using the restroom at a gas station was met with significant resistance. A lot of people would call that stalking. I don't think any of us would like to be stalked, but being stalked for 8 or 10 hours at a time is not a very favorable climate. Hey, folks, where were the cops yesterday? Where was Minneapolis Police Department during that 8-hour stalking events? Anybody care to venture a guess? I'd like to venture a guess, and it's I don't know. So it's that climate we're talking about. Violent mobs of rioters who became violent towards the end of the day. Our very last stop at a gas station was met with violence. Individuals that perpetrated violence against our Border Patrol agents, forcing us to take action, not against Victor Urice, the individual that we were after, but to take action against those violent anarchists who didn't want us to catch Victor Urice, if you can believe that. Absolutely unbelievable. Hey, where were the cops during that 8 hours of stalking and violence? Where was Mayor Fry? Where was, I don't know, Governor Waltz? I didn't see him around anywhere. You know, there's a saying, I think Thomas Paine said that in one of his pamphlets, Common Sense. He said politics and politicians on their very best day are barely tolerable evil. Is this Mayor Fry's very best day yesterday? Oh, I don't think so. Absolutely not. So put yourselves as the media and the press there. Would you like to be stalked all day long with folks that want to hurt you all day long? Think about that. Also, I'd implore upon you to report that. We were forced to utilize less lethal devices again yesterday to keep the public safe, to keep the Border Patrol agents safe, and so that we could continue to conduct that Title VIII mission. That's our job here. We're not going to be deterred in conducting the Title VIII mission, no matter what that climate is, no matter that violent rhetoric by Mayor Fry, Waltz, and others, individuals that come into churches, as Mr. Charles said. We're not going to be deterred from that. So CS gas, pepper balls, a whole litany of less lethal devices were used to ensure that our agents, those agitators and rioters, and the public were safe, and that we continue to conduct that mission. Citizens were failed twice yesterday. They were failed twice yesterday. First, as I said, the response from Minneapolis Police Department and other local agencies, missing in action. That's what you call missing in action. When fellow law enforcement officers are in need, missing in action. Unconscionable. And then the second part of that is these criminal illegal aliens that were let back out on the streets. Let's go back again to Mr. Victor Urice. He was on probation, by the way. Our target was on probation. He was let back go on the streets of Minneapolis so that we had to go into the community. Never should have happened. We had to go into the community to remove him. Why not, Mayor Fry, Governor Waltz, turn this individual over to us so we're not in the streets, so that anarchists are not allowed to ply their trade of anarchy against law enforcement? Now, this didn't happen overnight. This anarchist-type movement has been well established here in Minneapolis since 2020. We all know what happened in 2020. The anarchists love this, by the way. They love this. This is just what they want. This is just what Mayor Fry, Governor Waltz, and others are giving them. This emboldened rhetoric vilifies law enforcement and creates very unsafe situations for law enforcement and occludes from the mission of taking these bad people, as Mr. Marcos Charles said, off the streets. Compliance, they think, is optional. Compliance is not optional, not when law enforcement conducts. It's legal, lawful, ethical, and moral duties. It's not optional. There is no option there. Let's get this straight. Do the anarchists want Victor Uribe to remain on the streets? I think that's the base question. Just Mayor Frey and Governor Walz. I've never heard them say a word about these violent, illegal aliens that roam their streets. I guess they want them there. But guess what? ICE, the U.S. Border Patrol, and those allied law enforcement agencies, President Trump, Secretary Noem, we don't want it and we won't have it. Law enforcement unquestionably is being targeted right now in Minneapolis. I'll close by saying that we're being targeted now in the Title VIII mission. What does this spread to in the future? That rule of law and order, what else will that spread to? Maybe some speeding tickets, or maybe another law or situation that someone doesn't agree with. It'll spread to that as well. We're not going to allow that to happen here in Minneapolis or anywhere else. We're here to stay the course. We will stay the course. U.S. Border Patrol, ICE, and all allied law enforcement agencies, we're here and we are going to accomplish the mission. I'm glad to be here. Our agents are ecstatic to be here. ICE agents are glad to be here. Removing that off the streets, it will continue. Thank you.
Multiple examples of convicted criminals serving time in Minnesota state prisons, including names that you displayed on these screens, and he showed us how they were transferred from state prisons into DHS custody days before. EAD Charles, we also took your statement that there were more than 1,360 pending ICE detainers statewide, and he told us his department conducted a statewide survey, a review, and found just 207 individuals in state prisons and 94 in county jails are subject to ICE detainers right now. That's 301. Can you help us understand why Minnesota's top corrections official says not only has the state been honoring ICE detainers for decades as a policy, he doesn't understand where the Department of Homeland Security is getting its numbers from. What is your response?
So the Department of Corrections for Minnesota does honor our detainers. We pick individuals up from the state. It's the counties that do not honor our detainers. So when the state gets them, and those detainers are lodged against the state, we get those bodies. So however, the state DOC is the only entity that we can pick up from. We're opening up dialogue with some of the counties, and we are looking to see if they are more willing to honor our detainers at this time. The 1,300 number is statewide in counties that we have lodged. They may not have record of it if they don't file them, because they don't honor them. They have no reason to keep them.
How do you fix that problem, and which counties are not cooperating with ICE so that we can follow up?
Just look at the majority of the counties. Just go through the list. I believe there are 87 counties in Minnesota. Just look through every one of their records. That's what I suggest as far as that. As far as what we can do to make it better, the governor should talk to the counties and let them honor our detainers. Many of these sheriffs want to help us.
And just as a final point, though, it is true that some of the worst have been handed over to ICE by Minnesota state officers from Minnesota state prisons.
Some of the ones that we have up here?
Correct.
The ones that we've listed, I believe, have all been either arrested at large or come from a county that has released them, and we've picked them up.
But through a coordinated transfer?
No, not all.
Go ahead.
Commander Bovino, sources tell MS Now that you had an argument with a magistrate judge on duty here in Minnesota recently. Can you describe why you were upset with that magistrate judge?
Okay, sir, I've not had any argument with a magistrate judge. You're going to have to be more specific there. I've not talked to a magistrate judge from them to myself. No.
We understand it's because you were upset with the magistrate judge for rejecting arrests on the ground of assaults on federal officers. They argued it wasn't warranted. Do you have any comment on that?
I do. We work very hard with Department of Justice, with the courts to gather and obtain those warrants. One of those warrants will go back to Victor Urice here. We did work several days to get a warrant for this individual, and we worked through what we needed to do to get a warrant for this individual. And we're going to continue to work with judges and the courts to obtain these warrants with those judges.
And then final question: do you have any moral or ethical qualms about detaining a 5-year-old on his way back from preschool?
Be more specific. I don't.
William Ramos from the Columbia Heights School District. Do you have any moral or ethical qualms about that?
We conduct legal, ethical, and moral law enforcement missions here in Minneapolis. So as far as what you're saying with that particular individual, you'll have to be more specific because I didn't detain a 5-year-old. And we're going to continue with that law enforcement mission. Oftentimes you will see violent illegal aliens that perhaps do have families. And those violent criminal illegal aliens are going to be arrested. I've got no qualms about making America a safer place when we arrest those illegal aliens. Next question.
Commander Alex Gabriello with News Nation. You talked a lot today about the hostile environment that your agents are facing. We do know that military assets, namely National Guardsmen, are literally waiting in the wings for the president to invoke the Insurrection Act to actually provide that backup that potentially you might need. Would you encourage the president at this moment, given what you've seen on the ground here in Minneapolis, to invoke the Insurrection Act to help you?
I give Secretary Noem and the president, as do the other law enforcement leadership here, information briefs and data points multiple times a day so they can make any decisions that they need to make as to whether to put troops on the ground or not. So I'll leave that for President Trump and Secretary Noem based on the vast amount of information that is parlayed to them each day.
And a quick follow-up, you used some tear gas yesterday, and I know you just mentioned it, but obviously there was a recent ruling that was an appeal from the Department of Justice to allow your agents and federal agents to use those types of measures. Can you comment on what that allows you and your men and women to actually do out here on the ground?
Sure. I believe the case you're talking about was overruled and yesterday by a higher court anyway. It wouldn't have mattered because we follow the law. When we utilize less lethal munitions or any use of force, it's called the minimum use of force necessary to either effect an arrest and or accomplish a mission. So we did that. Whether or not that ruling was in effect, we still did that yesterday. Our agents are being violently assaulted by agitators and anarchists, and the use of that less lethal is something that I always call more than exemplary. A great use of force yesterday to keep agitators, Border Patrol agents, and the public safe. Let's go again to that word less lethal. Less lethal. If we didn't have those less lethal munitions to utilize the minimum amount of force necessary to effect an operation and or an arrest, what's next?
Go ahead, right here.
I'll go to the second part of that first. As far as the stalking, Minneapolis Police Department's been called on several situations that they have not responded. Yes, by the patrol. Let me give you a specific example other than yesterday. Yesterday was 8 hours of that. But let me go specifically to 2 days ago. We had 2 off-duty agents in a restaurant eating. And they were descended upon by that violent mob, and the staff of that restaurant in downtown Minneapolis decided to try to lock them in the restaurant with those 40 to 50 agitators. Minneapolis Police Department was called. They never showed up. Our agents were in there for 45 minutes, and we called a tactical team that went out to extract those agents from that restaurant. So that's what we're up against as far as state and local help, if that gives you any indication of the depth and scope of that. Now, as far as the 5-year-old and the father, I'll let ICE answer that, because we turn our detainees over to ICE, and they do a fantastic job of discerning what and how that's going to happen. We go where the threat is, and we're going to go at the optimal time where those threats are present. Take serving a warrant, things like that, or these targeted enforcement efforts. What you may not realize is those efforts occur 24/7. Oftentimes, we cannot control where that suspect is at a given time, but what we can control is a safe time to apprehend that suspect. Oftentimes, that's early morning hours, or when we encounter that individual that is alone or perhaps not near a crowd. So that's why we're in an area. It's just even getting in or near the area we're set upon by anarchists and rioters and things like that.
All right, right here.
Sure, I won't give you an exact number. Those numbers are going to remain law enforcement sensitive, but several thousand Border Patrol, ICE, and allied teams, so several thousand.
With the Daily Caller, California Governor Gavin Newsom did take the stage at the World Economic Forum in Davos, speaking to world leaders. He actually took a direct shot at you. Newsom saying, quote, Greg Levino is dressed up as he literally went on eBay and purchased SS garb, secret police, private army, masked men are disappearing people with no process. Do you have a response for the California governor who just made those comments on Twitter?
Sure, Governor Newsom's had a long record of lying, and again, those are lies. I don't shop on eBay. This garb, as he quite uneloquently puts it, is a standard Border Patrol issue, has been since May the 28th, 1924. That's 101 years ago. So as far as what he specifically said, I don't know. While he's enjoying Davos and whatever he's enjoying over there, I'm out being, our agents are being assaulted and stalked by violent rioters, many of which I believe they draw inspiration from his words when we operate in California, because he says the same thing, some of the same things that Fry and Waltz said. So he is responsible for that very violence that our agents are subject to on a daily basis. Remember, it started in California, operation at large Los Angeles.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Jack Grubb with the Associated Press. Question for Mr. Charles. There are specific operations where ICE has broken into homes without a judicial warrant, and we know that there is an internal memo telling officers that they can enter a home without a judicial warrant. Do you feel that you're justified in entering a home by force using only an administrative warrant? And if so, how often have you done that in Minneapolis?
So first off, we don't break into anybody's homes. We make entry in either a hot pursuit with a criminal arrest warrant or an administrative arrest warrant. The thing to remember is these administrative arrest warrants have been deemed justified by courts, also in immigration purposes. Also, the one thing that you need to know is that these warrants are based on an immigration judge's decision that these individuals are now removable from the United States. This is their final order of removal, and those warrants are based on that decision.
The second question, just how many cases have there been where you have entered a home using only an
And again, right now that's law enforcement sensitive. I'm not going to go into those numbers.
Commander, you said yesterday with the MPD calling them. Did you actually call Minneapolis police
Sure, I think anytime law enforcement is conducting that Title VIII mission, it certainly helps. As far as tactically helping yesterday, actually I do, and I'll explain that, is that violent mob decided, perhaps because I was a bit more visible, to follow us. 16 other strike teams out in the field yesterday arresting dozens of those criminal illegal aliens were relatively free from that. So I believe if they want to focus their attention on me, that's better than focusing attention on those Border Patrol agents and ICE officers doing that lawful mission across Minneapolis.
Did you and your teams call Minneapolis police yesterday?
Yes, at some point, yes.
All right, last question right here.
Eric Shalou from KCB. Thank you for taking our questions. People in Minnesota want to know when this surge will end. Has there been a date set? Is there a certain number of people you want to apprehend before you decide to ease the surge? We've seen DOJ filings that put a number at over 60,000 people. Explain to folks how long you're going to be here anymore.
As Marcos's team and U.S. Border Patrol work together, and we continue to apprehend dozens, if not hundreds, of these criminal illegal aliens a day, we're going to continue conducting that mission. We're not going to put a date or a timeline to stop this mission. This mission's ongoing until there are no more of those criminal illegal aliens roaming the streets of Minneapolis.
Is there a number, though? You have to have a file.
There is a number, and it's called all of them. Yep, you bet. All of them. We're not going to allow criminal illegal aliens to walk the streets and have more Molly Tibbetts, Jacqueline Nungare's, and all the other ones. I mean, you're worried about numbers. I'm worried about the deaths of Americans. Let's talk about that a little bit. Maybe Jacqueline Nungare, what her last moments were like. How come we never talk about that, and you're worried about numbers? Wait, no, hold on. Numbers? Jacqueline Nungare. Numbers, but your numbers, Jacqueline Nungare, well, actually, we never hear about her or the other thousands of American citizens. I'm worried about that vastly more than a number or a date. We're going to make Mom and Pa America safe. President Trump is, Secretary Noem is, and we're going to get them all. Did that answer your question? Sir.
Really quick.
Thank you.
Hey, Chief Ovino, really fast. Can you comment on the Vice President coming?
Very glad to have the Vice President here, Mr. Vance. Mr. Vance is a supporter of the Title VIII mission. He knows what's at stake here. He knows what's at stake in Minnesota and nationwide. And one of our most ardent supporters of that Title VIII mission, one of our most ardent supporters of taking criminal illegal aliens off the streets, J.D. Vance for Ma and Pa America. Just like President Trump, Secretary Noem, he's for Ma and Pa America. And I can't think of a better individual to come down and talk to those Border Patrol agents and ICE officers. Marcos and I were talking here just before this press conference. One of the things that J.D. Vance does is he wants to hear from the rank and file Border Patrol agents and ICE officers. That's something very unique to him. He wants to come down and talk to them individually, see what's on their mind, their issues, concerns, and what's going on the ground. You don't see that a lot, but you sure see it with the Vice President. Vice President Vance, we can't wait to see him. We're glad to have him.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
This way, sir.
Paul Morrow is here, and he's a Fox News contributor and a retired NYPD inspector. This thing feels like it is growing. What did you think about the interview from the jail?
Yeah.
Can we take it seriously?
Here's the thing. Obviously, she has an incentive to say what she's saying. She's looking at 30 years. She's very involved with this. The danger for the people she's talking about, Waltz, Fry, Ellison, and others, is the fact that she can serve as a pointer. Whether we choose to believe her or not, it comes down to will a grand jury, or ultimately, if it goes to trial, a petit jury, a jury of her peers, 12 people, potentially believing her testimony relative to these other people. But when you have somebody like this that was on the inside, we always called it in intelligence a pointer. She's there to tell you as you go through a mountain of emails, a mountain of communications, which we know they serve subpoenas to get, those subpoenas for documents, right, including electronic documents. As you ferret through a mountain of stuff, if you have a quote-unquote pointer to say, no, forget about that, look over here, saves you a lot of time, it helps focus the investigation, and sure, they might have to cut a deal so that she has less time in order to testify and all of that, but that's how cases are made. Yeah. Anybody who's ever seen a mafia movie knows that.
It seems like a weak defense. I kept asking, they kept giving, and it's their fault, not mine.
She's not getting out of that.
By the way, 250 million stolen allegedly. About 75 million has been recovered. So there's a lot of money out there that someone has illegally. Now we got some breaking news, Paul. I want to get to that on a Fox News alert because moments ago, remember that church incident on Sunday in Minneapolis? The AG Pam Bondi posted this. All right, I'm reading now. Minutes ago, at my direction, HSI and FBI agents executed an arrest in Minnesota. So far, we've arrested okay, we'll come back to that. So far, we have arrested Nikema Levy Armstrong, who allegedly played a key role in organizing the coordinated attack on City's Church in St. Paul, Minnesota. We will share more updates as they become available. Listen loud and clear. We do not tolerate attacks on places of worship, end quote. I want you to react to that, Paul. But on Monday, Tricia McLaughlin was on with Dana and me. And part of her answer said, I think we will be seeing mugshots very soon. She was tipping her hand that arrests were on the way, and this is the first one that's been made.
Yeah, and look, there's going to be very, very little that they can do in defense of this because it's on film, and for once they didn't cover their faces. Now here is the thing that's going to come out of this. You have her under arrest, now you're going to get the communications. And this is where it starts to spider web out. You start to see who was talking to who showed up in regard, including Don Lemon. How much did they all know going in? That imports things like conspiracy charges, which can be quite heavy. There's criminal civil rights charges that are implicated in the church incident.
This is also because one of the things that we found out about that was that they were targeting them because they were privileged white supremacists.
We talked about that earlier in the week. Not only did that come out in the video and that they said something like that in the church, but then after the fact, Lemon talks about exactly that, putting a racial overtone in the whole thing, which potentially could import a hate crime. So this was
another
really
thing
badly
about this,
done.
the woman that they've just arrested. I talked a little bit about this on the 5 yesterday because Cam Cawthorn, he writes for Fox Digital, and he had a piece about her. So she's been doing professional protesting and organizing for a long time. She gets a lot of grants from different nonprofits, and she's always made more money than she has spent. So there's a financial incentive for her. There's a business model for these types of things.
We've talked about this really since I've been on the network. One of the things that I've tried to sort of bang the gong on that I think a lot of police who do investigations see that the public doesn't see is that there is a career protester. And it has developed over the last, let's say, dozen years or so into a very lucrative industry. And you have people who do this for a living, make a ton of money. Yes. They weaponize people who don't know any better. And to use the Leninist term, useful idiots. They're looking for any cause in the world. They get them out of the campuses. They grow those groups and those institutions. And then they pick out people who want to stay in that world, who don't go back to East Cupcake and get a job eventually after college. They stay in that. They become the middle management, and it grows and it grows. It's very much like any other industry. The problem with it is if you dig down deep enough, you find out that there's tax money going into all of this stuff.
Yeah. Keep in mind, she said so far, so that would indicate more to come.
There's more coming.
Thank you. I mean, trespassing at a minimum. I mean, you were not invited in. That's not your property.
At the state level, where's the minute? Well, by the way, this is St. Paul. Where's the St. Paul chief of police?
Fair point.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.
Hey, 2 dill pickles, please.
Steve, you don't need pickles for pickleball. I've got this. I earn unlimited 2% cash rewards with my Wells Fargo Active Cash Card.
What have I been playing?
The Active Cash credit card from Wells Fargo. Terms apply.
What's up, everyone? All right, so we've got some great news. Thinkorswim, I don't know if they were watching my episodes right here, but they've done exactly what I suggested they would do. Now, for those of you guys who have been tuning in for a while, you probably already know, recently, maybe about a month and a half ago, Thinkorswim started restricting trading of certain securities. And most of these securities are high risk, small cap, including OTC and penny stocks. Most of them are foreign listed companies. And you know what? A lot of these stocks, they're very risky to trade. There's no question about it. And so they kind of took a position of, I think, being overly protective of their customer base and saying, you know what? We don't want to see customers lose money on these, so we're just going to block trading on them entirely across the board. But then you have customers that were upset. And of course, for me, I'm often trading a lot of these highly volatile securities. And we had one just last week on Thursday that went up over 1,000%. And on that day, it had nearly 100 million shares of volume, and Thinkorswim had blocked it. They'd already blocked it probably several days prior to that. And so you couldn't have participated in that whole move. And I had said right here on YouTube, I said, this is ridiculous. If you're using Thinkorswim as your broker, Charles Schwab, you're going to have to find a backup because you don't want to miss these opportunities. We only get so many each year when a stock goes up 1,000% in one day. So if you're missing those because your brokers are restricting you, it feels like you're making the difficult job of being profitable trading that much harder. Now, they might argue we're making it easier for you to be profitable because we're preventing you from being caught in these potentially very risky stocks. Okay, hear that, but at the end of the day, that paternal instinct to protect you is nice, but also patronizing because you are smart enough to make your own decision. And so I had said, if this is affecting you, you should call and complain. Now, you know what's interesting? Over at Fidelity, they make it so when you first type in one of these kind of higher risk stocks, you have to, right on the platform, do a risk disclosure. You click it, you say, I agree, and then they allow it. And I said, Thinkorswim should do the same thing. That way they can say, look, we told this person that trading these is risky. They went ahead and affirmatively said, I am, agreeing to this risk disclaimer, and then go ahead and trade what you want. And that way, someone who is potentially more novice wouldn't get caught, trading something that's risky without realizing it. So here's the good news. Thinkorswim has at least taken the first steps towards creating this type of disclaimer and sign-off that will allow you to trade all the stocks that are currently restricted. However, it's not integrated into Thinkorswim platform yet. You have to call them on the phone. So you've got to get on the phone, which I know, nobody likes to be on the phone, but you have to do it. You got to call them and you have to say, I want to trade the stocks that are currently restricted. Now, depending on the support agent you speak with, they might say, that's not possible. I have no idea what you're talking about because this is brand new. They just started rolling it out within the last couple days. But if you get the right person or escalate it and say, I know it's happening, other people have told me it's happening, and have confirmed that it worked for them, can you transfer me? Then you can get this sign off. Basically what they do is they read a paragraph to you about the high risk of trading these securities. They ask you to agree to it. They probably save that recording of you agreeing to it. And then they say it can take 1 business day, but then you'll be able to trade whatever you want. So does this, the problem is a lot of people aren't going to do it. A lot of people are using Thinkorswim and they'll just see they can't trade it and they won't bother to call in. So what they should do is they should integrate it into the platform where it actually has a pop-up that says this is a restricted stock, complete this risk disclaimer to trade it. But if they don't do that, then people just assume it's not tradable for who knows what reason. They might not know, and they won't call in and they just won't trade it. So I think this is like kind of halfway of a solution. It's good for now. Maybe they'll get the rest of it in the coming weeks or months. I don't know. Look, if you've been using Thinkorswim for a while and you didn't want to switch brokers, this is your chance to stick with them. So your voice has been heard. This is great news. And, I have a Thinkorswim account. Am I going to do it with my account? I haven't called yet. Part of me is like, well, I still feel like if it's restricted on the main thinkorswim platform, with the exception of the small number of people that call in, the volume is probably still going to be lighter on these stocks because Charles Schwab is such a big player. So I kind of want to know if a stock is restricted. So I don't think I'm going to do it yet, just so I kind of have the awareness that, oh, this is a restricted stock. I should expect there may be lighter volume in it. But if they integrate this into like a sign off right on the platform, then at that point I would go ahead and do it, assuming most people would do the same. So that's where I'm at with it. I know some of you guys have already set up accounts over at Webull or used one of the offshore brokers, which I think is, those are all fine ideas, especially, right now we have the pattern day trader rule, which we hope will get amended this year from $25,000 down to $2,000. I actually had a broker that called me and wanted to talk to me about what I think that's going to mean for their business. And so I'm going to have a call with them later this week about that. But, nonetheless, until that happens, if you want to day trade, you're under 25K, you've got a cash account, which Webull is better than thinkorswim, or you've got the offshore accounts. And so, those are your choices. I'll put a link here at the end of this episode to some of my recommendations or my, Ross scores of what I think are the best brokers for day trading, including international and offshore accounts or PDT exempt accounts. So you guys can check those out. And then I'll remind you, as always, that trading is, of course, risky. My results aren't typical. So manage your risk, take it slow, and make sure you guys tune in to my recap, which will get uploaded a little bit later today.
Imagine being able to build anything just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44, a complete AI creation platform made for anyone with an idea and a drive to bring it to life.
Thanks for tuning in, y'all.
Huh?
See y'all next streamer. Cheers.